Chapter 2976. Carefree was only at the heavenly human stage of the True One stage. However, when he broke free from the shackles, something seemed to have happened in his body. His Kuan Peng bloodline was activated, and a majestic Kuan Peng diagram appeared behind him. It instantly reversed and devoured the Dongshu stage man. Of course, bloodline suppression was part of the reason. However, even the Kuan Peng bloodline could not erupt with such a terrifying devouring power. The wisp of aura that Carefree had just leaked out even made Su Zimo's 12th grade creation Qinglian bloodline ripple. In fact, when the creation Qinglian had grown to the peak of 12th grade, Su Zimo had not encountered a situation where his bloodline was suppressed. Even when facing the dragon race and the god race, which were at the top of the 10,000 races, his bloodline did not feel any pressure at all. Back then, Su Zimo had fallen to the bottom of the Blood Fiend Lake in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain's Shura battlefield and had obtained a white tiger bone. When he absorbed and refined this white tiger bone, even the white tiger bloodline could not suppress Qinglian's bloodline. Carefree was indeed a forbidden Kuan Peng. However, the Kuan Peng had not reached the level where it could compete with a holy beast bloodline like the white tiger. Therefore, what surprised Su Zimo was that the bloodline aura that overflowed from Carefree's body just now could actually cause his Qinglian bloodline to ripple. Could this be the atavism that the Kuan King and the Moon Witch King were talking about? Su Zimo was deep in thought. He had heard the conversation between the Kuan King and the Moon Witch King clearly. However, he had never heard of the term atavism. Do you know about atavism, fellow Taoist Yulan? Su Zimo asked. I'm not sure. Immortal King Yulan shook her head as she cleaned up the battlefield. Fellow Taoist Su, you killed the Kuan King and the Moon Witch King. Their grotto heavens and storage bags are here. As she spoke, Immortal King Yulan handed over their grotto heavens and storage bags. Take it. Su Zimo shook his head and refused, saying, without you holding them back, I wouldn't have been able to kill them. I'll take the items from the 4 Kuan race kings. Su Zimo took the 4 ordinary Kuan race kings' grotto heavens and storage bags and quickly cleaned up the battlefield. Thank you, fellow Taoist Su. Immortal King Yulan was secretly delighted. Obtaining the paradises of 2 peak kings would be a great help to her cultivation. If she didn't have any heaven-defying fortuitous encounters, how could she have obtained the grotto heavens of 2 peak kings? Moreover, they were perfectly preserved grotto heavens. At this time, Baiming Xue and Mulian had already come out of their hiding place. Senior sister? Carefree's face was flushed, and he was sweating profusely. He looked dizzy and unconscious. When he opened his eyes and saw Kitsune, he shouted in surprise and joy. It's me. Kitsune stepped forward and frowned. She supported Xiaoyao and asked, how do you feel? I don't know. Xiaoyao answered in a daze. He's fine. Su Zimo glanced at him and said, he's only at the heavenly being stage, but he just absorbed a lot of energy. Not only did he devour the true spirit of a Dongshu stage cultivator, but he also absorbed too much yin and yang energy. He can't refine it in a short time. If it were any other race, Xiaoyao's body would have exploded long ago. It was because the Kuan Peng race's bloodline was too special that it could accommodate so much energy. In fact, this energy was enough for Xiaoyao to break through to the Dongshu stage. However, in the true self stage, especially after the heavenly being stage, to break through, not only did one need to accumulate energy, but they also needed to have enough understanding of Tao. The energy in Xiaoyao's body was enough, but his understanding of Tao was still lacking. That was why he was in such a situation. As long as Xiaoyao had enough time to continue cultivating and comprehending Tao, he would be able to refine and absorb the huge amount of energy in his body. Su Zimo had too many questions about Xiaoyao, but now was not the time to talk about the past. Let's leave here first. Su Zimo said in a deep voice. The black-armored man earlier on was of the Arch and his death would definitely alarm the Imperial Lord experts of the Kuan race. The longer they stayed here, the more dangerous it would be for them. Su Zimo and Immortal King Yulan discussed for a while and decided to head to the Flower World first. Immortal King Yulan had to send the Hell Spring water back to the Flower World as soon as possible. Now that Su Zimo was severely injured, it would be too dangerous for him to bring Kitsune and Xiaoyao back to the Sword World. Furthermore, the Flower World was closer to this place. It wouldn't be too late to make plans after they arrived at the Flower World and recovered from their injuries. Immortal King Yulan summoned her immortal boat and carried everyone into the spatial tunnel, disappearing from the day and night land and speeding towards the Flower World. A day later. Near the day and night land, the starry sky was deep. All of a sudden, a huge shadow shrouded over, covering the skies. Immediately after, two gigantic eyes appeared in the skies, emitting a shuddering aura as they surveyed the surroundings. Eventually, they landed on an ancient star. On that star, one could still vaguely see traces of battle and remnant bloodline aura. "How dare you kill my son?" A deep voice reverberated through the starry sky. That pair of eyes was filled with endless rage and killing intent. That pair of eyes scanned the surroundings for a long time, trying to find clues to obtain an answer. However, after a long time, he found nothing. A moment later, a bloodied mouth suddenly appeared in the firmaments and devoured the star before vanishing gradually. That terrifying aura also disappeared along with it. More than 10 days later, Su Zimo and the others arrived at the flower world. Immortal King Yulon settled Su Zimo and the others on the Qinglian star before saying, "I'll hand the spring water to the imperial lords of the flower world first before inviting everyone to the 100 Flowers Hall of the flower world for a chat." Su Zimo pondered for a moment and said, "There's no need." Immortal King Yulon was confused. "Fellow Taoist Su, you've helped the flower world greatly this time round. As long as I report the truth, the flower world will definitely reward you handsomely." Su Zimo glanced at Carefree, who was still unconscious, and shook his head slightly. "My disciple has a special identity. Please help me hide it and don't leak it, fellow Taoist." Carefree was the only clue about the death of the black-armored man. Once his identity and bloodline were exposed, it would definitely attract the imperial lords of the Kuan race. Immortal King Yulon knew how powerful it was and said, "Fellow Taoist Su, don't worry about that." After pausing for a moment, Su Zimo continued, "As for the trip to the day and night land this time round, please don't mention Dark North and I, Immortal King Yulon." Immortal King Yulon frowned slightly and asked, "Fellow Taoist Su, what are you worried about?" Su Zimo remained silent. There were some guesses that he could neither clarify nor explain to Immortal King Yulon. It was just a precaution. Immortal King Yulon pondered for a moment before nodding. "No problem. However, I'm the only one who knows about this favor." Immortal King Yulon cupped his fists before turning to leave. Chapter 2977. After a few days, news came from the flower world that the danger of the Nether Calamity was temporarily resolved. After being unconscious for a few days, Carefree slowly woke up. However, Carefree's condition was still very bad. There was too much energy accumulated in his body. With his current cultivation, it was difficult for him to digest it. His face was red, and he was a little delirious. The aura in his body was extremely violent. Over the past few days, Su Zimo's body that was severely injured by a Peak King had already recovered thanks to the recovery capabilities of the Grade 12 creation Green Lotus. Su Zimo checked on Carefree's condition. Carefree wasn't injured, so the Lotus Finger was useless against him. Only by guiding the yin and yang energy in Carefree's body could he turn the situation around. It could even be a blessing in disguise. I have a scripture here. Listen carefully and comprehend it according to the inherited memories of your race. In the cave, Su Zimo passed the scripture of the yin-yang talisman scripture to Carefree. Kitsune also listened at the side. The yin-yang talisman scripture only had 600 words. Even Su Zimo had only comprehended 1/10 of it. If it was someone else, they might not be able to comprehend it in a short time even if they heard the scripture. However, Carefree had the Kuan Peng bloodline and inherited the memories of the Kuan Peng race. He was born with the ability to control yin and yang energy. After hearing the scripture, Carefree's aura gradually stabilized. The yin-yang talisman scripture combined with his inherited memories helped him resolve the crisis. The Kuan Peng diagram filled with light dots appeared behind Carefree again. Baiming Xue looked at the Kuan Peng painting and couldn't help but recall the Northern Sea painting she saw on that star. She fell into deep thought. Immediately after, Carefree's body emitted that ancient and terrifying bloodline aura again. It was even purer and stronger than when he was on that ancient planet. The yin-yang talisman scripture was of great help to Carefree. It even pushed his bloodline one step further on the path of atavism. Su Zimo saw that Carefree's condition had stabilized and let out a sigh of relief. These days, he was not in a hurry to leave. He discovered that the Qinglian clan on the Qinglian planet had a weak bloodline and a slow cultivation speed. When he cultivated on the Qinglian star, he would attract a large amount of heaven and earth yuan qi and gather it around the Qinglian star. If the Qinglian clan cultivated by his side, they would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. In reality, as long as a plant being cultivated by his side, they would receive unimaginable benefits. Cultivating on Qinglian planet for a period of time could be considered to have brought some opportunities to the living beings on Qinglian planet. 1 month later, Carefree had already recovered to 70 to 80%. Thank you, Master. Carefree ran to Su Zimo, his face full of joy. Although he hadn't made a breakthrough in his realm, his body had grown several times in a short period of time with the guidance of the Yin Yang charm scripture and his own inherited memories. Carefree's body was originally like a lake. The lake was naturally unable to contain the sudden influx of torrential water. But now, Carefree's body was like an ocean that could contain all the rivers flowing into the sea. Next, as long as Carefree continued to cultivate and comprehend Tao techniques, he would have a chance to make consecutive breakthroughs and enter the Dongshu realm. What did you experience after ascending? Seeing that Carefree was fine, Su Zimo asked. Xiao Yao recounted everything that had happened to him after he ascended to the immortal realm. Carefree's luck was not bad. After ascending, he directly landed in the Kuan realm. However, he was very careful and never exposed his Kuan Peng bloodline. What he revealed was only the Kuan bloodline, no different from the other clansmen. In the Kuan realm, he continued to cultivate and successfully entered the true self realm. However, just a few years ago, during a competition in the Kuan realm, a wisp of his Kuan Peng bloodline leaked out and was detected by an imperial emperor of the Kuan realm. Then, the imperial emperor of the Kuan realm arranged for the most talented the arch under his command to use the Kuan Peng's cultivation to break through and devour his Kuan Peng bloodline. Su Zimo frowned secretly when he heard that. The entire process didn't sound like much. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. On the surface, this arrangement was for the imperial emperor of the Kuan realm to kill Carefree and steal his bloodline for his own child. However, from the perspective of the Kuan realm, this risk was too great. The gains did not make up for the losses. This was because there was a high chance of failure when devouring a bloodline. Once it failed, the arch would at most become a king. However, the Kuan realm would lose a taboo with unlimited potential. In the Kuan realm, the awakening of a taboo Kuan Peng should be the best way to nurture it as the future hope of the Kuan realm and not destroy it. Moreover, the appearance of the Moon Witch King on that star was also a little strange. What did this have to do with the sorcerer realm? Or was it just a coincidence? Do you know what atavism is? Su Zimo asked. Carefree shook his head and said, I'm not sure either. When I broke free from the chains on that star, a bunch of unfamiliar memories suddenly appeared in my mind. I felt as if an extremely ancient power was awakening in my body. Under the push of this power, I devoured the arch. I was confused throughout the entire process. The three of them had not seen each other for a long time and chatted a lot. After Carefree ascended to the Kuan realm, he had always been very careful. Now that he saw Su Zimo and Kitsune, it was as if he had seen his family. He finally felt at ease and did not have to be on tenterhooks. Carefree also had a special dependence on Kitsune. As for Baiming Xue, she not only saw Xiao Yao as her junior, but also as her own younger brother. The two disciples often sparred and discussed the Tao together. Senior sister, you can try to cultivate the painting of the north. That Kuan realm secret technique is very powerful. I'm a human. Can I cultivate it? Of course. Senior sister, your bloodline phenomenon is the giant Kuan of the north. You can use it to manifest the painting of the north. It's a pity that I can't teach you my Kuan Peng painting. Many of the runes in it originate from my inherited memories. Even I can't control it. In Carefree's heart, the Kuan realm secret technique was not as important as Kitsune. Carefree imparted the painting of the north to Kitsune without holding back. Su Zimo was heartened to see how harmonious and affectionate his two disciples were. Even he did not expect that the interaction between his two disciples would allow Kitsune to integrate many Tao techniques and gradually comprehend her own sword Tao. Su Zimo had originally planned to leave the Qinglian planet and send Kitsune and Carefree to the Sword World. However, he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he chose to go into seclusion on the Qinglian planet and settle down. The great wasteland world was already covered in dark clouds. A storm was coming. Chapter 2978. The Great Wilderness Domain. After so many years of war, the Great Wilderness had changed drastically. The north, south, and west regions were all under Tsong's rule. Only the eastern barren territory was barely holding on. 800 years ago, the two demon kings of the eastern wilderness, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Demon Emperor, had surrendered, which made the eastern wilderness situation worse. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Demon Emperor were the right-hand men of Demon Emperor Xueqi. The departure of these two demon emperors was a huge blow to the eastern wilderness. More than 800 years ago, in the battle against Song, eastern wilderness relied on the appearance of a desolate marshal to win by luck and gain some breathing room. But all the living beings in the great wilderness knew that the eastern wilderness could not hold on for long. It was inevitable that the great wilderness would be swallowed by Song. It was said that Araki Takashi had just become a demon emperor and could not affect the overall situation. Also, in the war 800 years ago, Emperor Qing Yan and the other top experts did not appear. On this day, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai, Great Peng Demon Monarch, Spirit Horn Demon Monarch, Fail Yen Demon Monarch, Huado Demon Monarch, and a dozen ordinary monarch beasts were standing respectfully at the entrance of a palace. They had received news that Emperor Qing Yan would descend on the great wilderness today. Outside the palace, there were many demon kings and countless demon race soldiers gathered. It was a sea of people, and banners were fluttering in the wind. Not long after, a void gate suddenly split open in the sky, and more than 100 figures walked out from it. Although there were only 100 of them, which was incomparable to the hundreds of millions of demon race soldiers below, the moment they appeared, the world fell silent. The aura emitted by these hundreds of figures was too terrifying. The moment they appeared, the living beings below felt as if their throats were choked by a pair of invisible hands. They could not breathe and were as silent as cicadas in winter. The leader wore a dark green robe. He had a head full of green hair and a fair face. His eyes were bright and full of vigor. He looked down at the living beings beneath his feet from above. No one dared to look him in the eyes. This was Emperor Qing Yan. Whoosh! All the living beings in the mountains seemed to be unable to withstand some kind of pressure, and all of them fell to their knees. Even Dragon Emperor Huang Hai, Great Peng Demon Monarch, and the other peerless demon monarchs who were standing at the entrance of the hall knelt down respectfully. Emperor Qing Yan nodded slightly and smiled. He seemed to be very satisfied with this scene. Beside him stood 7 peak imperial emperors, 5 men and 2 women. Some had calm expressions, some had ferocious looks, some had murderous auras, and some had seductive looks. These 7 were the 7 constellation demon emperors under Emperor Qing Yan. Behind the 7 constellations Fey Emperor were a dozen ordinary imperial emperors and dozens of Fey kings. These demon monarchs looked young. They looked around as if they were curious about everything around them. Emperor Qing Yan led the group down from the sky. Step by step, it was as if there were stairs beneath his feet. The entire process was very slow, but from beginning to end, not a single one of the trillions of living beings in the vast desolation dared to raise their heads to speak. They all obediently knelt in place. Any strange movement at this moment could lead to a fatal disaster. Before this, a demon emperor had raised his head to take a peek, but Emperor Qing Yan had noticed and killed him on the spot by a constellation demon emperor behind him. Emperor Qing Yan and the rest arrived at the hall. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai lowered his head subconsciously. He was almost kneeling on the ground, and his bloodline had stopped circulating. This was the suppression of bloodline. Although he was from the Dragon Clan, in the face of the Azure Dragon Clan's bloodline, he still involuntarily chose to submit. Oh! Emperor Qing Yan's gaze fell on Dragon Emperor Huang Hai. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Only now do you want to submit?" Hearing this, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai's heart skipped a beat, and he broke out in cold sweat. "Lord Qing Yan, I know my mistake." Dragon Emperor Huang Hai hurriedly kowtowed and admitted his mistake. Great Peng Demon Emperor and Kuei Ox Demon Emperor beside him were also trembling in fear. Emperor Qing Yan's aura was too strong. Although they were only 1 level apart, their combat strength was worlds apart. Emperor Qing Yan could easily tear Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and the other 2 to pieces. Emperor Qing Yan did not speak. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and the other 2 were so scared that they did not dare to look up. They were sweating profusely as they endured the silent torture. After a while, Emperor Qing Yan chuckled and said, "It's good that you know your mistake. I'll give you a chance." "I won't let you down, Lord Qing Yan," Dragon Emperor Huang Hai said quickly. Emperor Qing Yan walked into the hall and sat in the middle. He then said calmly, "Rise." Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and the rest lowered their heads as if they had been pardoned. They moved to the hall. "Where's 9 Een?" Emperor Qing Yen looked around and asked, "Why are there fewer demon emperors?" The Spirit Horn Demon Monarch quickly recounted the battle that took place 800 years ago in detail. As soon as Spirit Horn Demon Emperor finished, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai said, "Lord Qing Yen, Great Peng, Kuei Niu, and I did not participate in that battle. When fellow cultivator Spirit Horn and the rest were retreating, we even stopped Araki Takashi and the others from chasing after them." Back then, when Dragon Emperor Huang Hai stood aside, he had already thought of this scene. If he had killed the living beings of Tsong continent that day, it would be difficult to explain to Emperor Qing Yen now. He might even lose his life. Actually, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai was overthinking it. To Emperor Qing Yen, the living beings of the vast wilderness were like ants to him. No matter how many of them died, he did not care. However, Demon Emperor 9 was from Tsong continent after all and was once his subordinate. "Araki Takashi?" Emperor Qing Yen murmured expressionlessly. "Lord Qing Yen," Dragon Emperor Huang Hai said in a deep voice, "this Araki Takashi is nothing to be afraid of. In this battle, I will personally avenge 9. I will cut off Araki Takashi's head and give it to Lord Qing Yen." Great Peng Demon Emperor also said, "Lord Qing Yen will definitely be able to kill Xueqi and conquer the eastern wilderness." "Kill Xueqi?" Emperor Qing Yen smiled and shook his head. "What do you know?" "I have been keeping her alive to give her enough time to recover. I am using her to train my Tao so that I can improve. If I want to flatten the eastern wasteland, as long as I mobilize enough power, I can do it at any time. Killing that Xueqi will be easy." Great Peng Demon Emperor smiled. So Lord Qing Yen did not take her seriously at all. She is just a whetstone. Dragon fighting in the wild. Emperor Green Flame said slowly, "Only through constant battles can I fully activate my green dragon bloodline and push my Tao techniques to the extreme." Saying this, Emperor Qing Yen stood up. His eyes were filled with battle intent. His blood chi surged and dragon chi circled around him. "A tiny little butterfly was actually able to resist me until now. Let me see which one of us will be able to take that step first." Emperor Qing Yan's gaze seemed to pierce through the void and landed on Butterfly Valley in the eastern wilderness. Chapter 2979. Eastern Wilderness. Butterfly Valley. Dai Yu sensed something and slowly opened her eyes. She knew that Emperor Qing Yen had returned. Fortunately, she had obtained some origin stones from Su Zimo. After 800 years of cultivation, her injuries had healed and she had returned to her peak. Thinking of Su Zimo, a smile gradually appeared on Dai Yu's face. She really did not expect that a young man from a small town in Tianhuang mainland would grow to such a level today. He would really ascend to the upper world and follow her footsteps. She had acknowledged and admired Su Zimo in the past, but she did not have many other feelings for him. She had never thought that the two of them would meet again one day. But 800 years ago, when she turned back and saw that strange yet familiar figure in Butterfly Valley, a ripple appeared in her heart. That young man was here. After going through so many hardships, the young man had changed a lot. His cultivation, temperament, identity. Only his eyes were still bright and sincere, just like when they first met. "What are you thinking about?" At this moment, a voice came from beside her. Dai Yu did not explain. She only looked sideways at Wu Dao's main body, who was walking over, and asked, "You broke through?" Even she could not clearly see the cultivation realm of the martial Dao body. She could only vaguely feel that Wu Dao's main body seemed to have changed again. "Yes." Wu Dao nodded and said, "I've already become a quasi-emperor, but I can't go any further." In fact, as early as 200 years ago, after he refined the many grotto heavens that he had obtained after the battle, Wu Dao's domain and Yuan Wu grotto heaven had cultivated a trace of world power and became a quasi-emperor. He still had the world fragments of 6 ordinary Fey emperors and 1 peerless Fey emperor. As long as he refined these world fragments, his strength would be enough to help him reach the emperor realm. But the difference between a quasi-emperor and an emperor was not only in strength, but also in Dao techniques. If he could not improve his Dao techniques, he would not be able to reach the emperor realm. Wu Dao's main body not only needed time, but also more Dao techniques to strengthen the absorption and refinement of Dao techniques. He had already thought of a place to go, but he did not have time now. The Eastern Wilderness crisis had arrived. He had sensed Emperor Azure Flame's arrival as well. The Azure Dragon bloodline was indeed terrifying. As soon as it descended upon the Great Wasteland domain, All living beings felt an enormous pressure. Even the azure dragon Holy Soul on the prison-suppressing cauldron showed signs of awakening. The few monster monarchs from the East Baron also appeared above the Butterfly Valley. The divine elephant demon emperor and the others looked solemn as they looked toward the west of the Grand Wilderness. They were not unfamiliar with this situation. With Emperor Qing Yan's return, a huge battle was unavoidable. But this time, it was slightly different from the past. The East Baron's dragon monarch Huang Hai and Great Peng demon monarch had already submitted to Tsang. Among the peerless demonic emperors, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng demonic emperor were the strongest. Even the divine elephant demon emperor and the nine-tailed demon emperor could not gain the upper hand against them. Moreover, Tsang had more than one peerless demon emperor. In the west of the Great Wilderness, dark clouds gathered and surged. Dai Yu's expression was calm as she stepped forward. The armies of Tsang and the Great Wilderness gathered at the border. Emperor Qing Yan stood in the air. Behind him, besides the 7 constellations demonic emperors and a dozen ordinary demonic emperors, there were also some young monster monarchs from Tsang. These monster monarchs were all here for the first time. Everything in the Great Wilderness domain was new to them. Emperor Qing Yan pointed at the billions of living beings under his feet and said, "Do you see that? All of them, be it monster monarchs or demonic emperors, are just living beings that we've reared. These living beings will never be able to touch our world." The young monster monarchs nodded with excitement in their eyes. Emperor Qing Yan said casually, "When the battle starts, be careful when you go down. Don't get killed by these animals." At this moment, a group of demonic emperors appeared above the Eastern Baron. The divine elephant demon emperor and the others' hearts sank when they saw the situation. Even if Dai Yu could fight Emperor Qing Yan and the 7 constellations demonic emperors alone, there were more than 10 peerless demon emperors and more than 40 ordinary ones. On the Eastern Baron side, the divine elephant demon emperor, nine-tailed demon emperor, Baizei demon emperor, sky-bearing emperor, black snake demon emperor, and Araki Takashi only had 6 emperors. Emperor Qing Yan looked at Dai Yu immediately and nodded. He smiled and said, "You didn't disappoint me. You've recovered. Very good." Dai Yu ignored him. Her expression was cold. At this moment, a beautiful girl behind Emperor Qing Yan stepped forward. She had a seductive body and a charming expression. She smiled and asked, "Which one is Araki Takashi?" "Be careful." Nine-tailed demon emperor's voice sounded in Wu Dao's mind. "This is Heart Constellation Demon Emperor, one of the 7 constellations. She's also a fox and is good at seduction. What are you whispering about?" "Hee, I heard everything." Heart Constellation Demon Emperor chuckled. Her watery eyes fell on Wu Dao's body and rippled. She said softly, "Brother Araki Takashi, why don't you come to me?" Heart Constellation Demon Emperor's voice was seductive and charming. It was as if she could evoke the deepest desire in one's heart. However, Wu Dao's eyes were deep and calm. He was already a quasi-emperor. At his peak state, such seduction could not affect his Dao heart at all. The Heart Sutra demon the Arch originally wanted to take him down a notch and use a bewitching technique to lure that desolate marshal over. Unexpectedly, Araki Takashi was wearing a cold silver mask and was completely unmoved. Wu Dao's body was also sizing up Emperor Qing Yan and the 7 constellations demon emperors. The 7 constellations demon emperors all had different bodies. Heart Constellation Demon Emperor was from the fox race. However, she was slightly different from the 9-tailed demon emperor. Wu Dao's body smelled a wisp of the bloodline of dragons on Heart Constellation Demon Emperor. The others were the same. In the end, Wu Dao's body finally looked at Emperor Qing Yan. He was very strong. If Wu Dao's body were to fight him now, he probably would not stand a chance at all. Moreover, amongst all the imperial monarchs he faced, only Imperial Monarch Qing Yan could make him feel such enormous pressure. "Lord Heart Constellation, this person doesn't know what's good for him. Leave him to me." Dragon Emperor Huang Hai bowed and said, "All right." Heart Constellation Demon Emperor nodded. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai stood out and looked at Wu Dao's body opposite him. He puffed out his chest and regained some of his usual composure. "Araki Takashi, you were disrespectful to Tsang and spoke rudely the other day. I did not attack you because Xueqi protected you." Dragon Emperor Huang Hai said coldly, "You will definitely die in today's battle." "What did he say?" Constellation Horn Demon Emperor of the 7 constellations asked. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai bowed and answered, He said that song does not represent the bigger picture and said that he is the bigger picture. Ha! The 7 constellations demon emperors sneered. Is it funny? Dai Yu asked calmly. The sky suddenly quietened down. The air seemed to have frozen. Everyone could feel the killing intent from Dai Yu. She was facing a terrifying expert who could fight Emperor Qing Yan head-on. In the next moment, Dai Yu attacked. That seemingly white and weak palm pierced through the air and slapped down on those demon emperors who had mocked Wu Dao's body. In an instant, the sky collapsed and the clouds changed color. A great battle broke out. Chapter 2980. Roar. As Dai Yu attacked, a deafening roar sounded in the sky. The Azure Dragon's roar suppressed all races. All living beings in the sky and on the ground felt their souls tremble when they heard the dragon's roar. This was bloodline suppression, a roar from the top of all races. Just one roar was enough to shake the earth and mountains. The entire great wilderness domain trembled, rivers flowed backward, and mountains collapsed. He was a peak sovereign emperor, and the strongest among peak sovereign emperors at that. A casual roar from him could produce such a terrifying might. The fist and palm collided. Boom! There was a loud explosion. The void exploded, and a dazzling ball of light burst out from where the fist and palm collided. It quickly spread in all directions and destroyed everything. The first time the two of them clashed, it created a scene of destruction. Dai Yu and Imperial Emperor Qing Yan suddenly disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already in space outside the great wilderness domain. This was the battlefield of peak Imperial Emperors. The 7 constellations demon the Arch followed closely behind and arrived in space. However, the 7 constellations demon the Arch was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he stood nearby and watched. Imperial Emperor Qing Yan wanted to use Dai Yu to temper his bloodline. Unless Imperial Emperor Qing Yan encountered danger, the 7 of them could just stand by and watch. Imperial Emperor Qing Yan's aura surged as he bathed in azure flames. 1,000-feet-long azure dragon with sharp claws and horns could be vaguely seen behind him. Its eyes were like torches. Behind Dai Yu, a blood-winged butterfly of 10 feet in size appeared. Compared to the 1,000-feet-long azure dragon, the blood-winged butterfly was too small. However, in terms of aura, the blood-winged butterfly was not at a disadvantage at all. Boom! 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 The two of them clashed again. Killing intent soared into the sky, and battle intent surged. The starry sky was collapsing, creating countless strange scenes. The divine dragon circled and the butterfly danced. Lightning flashed, stars shattered, and black holes appeared. However, the 2 peak Imperial Emperors were so powerful that even the black holes could not devour them. The moment the black holes appeared, they were shattered by the 2 of them again. The battle was so intense that blood mist burst out the moment the 2 of them clashed. Both of them were injured at the same time. However, this sort of injury was nothing to the 2 of them. This was the first time Wu Dao's main body saw Dai Yu attack with her full strength. Back in Tianhuang mainland, Dai Yu's spirit was merely a manifestation of his bloodline phenomenon. It was far from Dai Yu's true combat strength. The 2 peak Imperial Emperors fought in the starry sky. Bloodlines, secret skills, and Dao techniques were clashed. The starry sky outside the Grand Desolation World had already been struck to the point of being riddled with holes. A rain of light suffused the air, and it transformed into an ocean of Dao arts that obliterated and destroyed everything. Emperor Qing Yan's aura was majestic and unparalleled in the world. Dai Yu's main body was Yu was Yu, a many Yu's main Yu was Yu. Dai Yu's main body was Yu main body. If their battle took place in the Great Desolation Domain, the entire Great Desolation Domain would most likely be destroyed. The martial Dao body retracted his gaze. With his current combat strength, he was still unable to intervene in a battle of this level. Yu. As long as he could stabilize the Great Wilderness, he would be able to relieve Dai Yu's pressure. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Rock Demon Monarch did not want to face their old friends. They did not look at Divine Elephant Demon Monarch and the others. Instead, they rushed towards Wu Dao body. Let me see what you're capable of. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai roared. His blood essence surged as he activated his bloodline phenomenon. Great Rock also activated his bloodline phenomenon. He turned into a beam of golden light and was faster than Dragon Emperor Huang Hai. He was the first to reach Wu Dao. They had seen Wu Dao's main body fight before. Wu Dao's main body had killed a peerless Imperial Emperor. They did not dare to underestimate him. Spirit Horn Imperial Emperor, Fail Yen Imperial Emperor, Battle Imperial Emperor, and other peerless Imperial Emperors also attacked the Divine Elephant Imperial Emperor and Nine-Tailed Imperial Emperor. Normal Imperial Emperors were also in a huge battle. No matter which battlefield it was, the number of demon thearchs in Song Continent far exceeded that of East Wilderness. As soon as the battle started, Eastern Wilderness was at a disadvantage. The Divine Elephant Imperial Emperor, Nine-Tailed Imperial Emperor, Baizé Imperial Emperor, and the others were besieged by other experts. The golden light arrived in an instant. If it were other peerless Imperial Emperors, they would not be able to withstand this move. This was the Great Rock Race's innate ability. They could push their speed to the limit. Creatures of the same level would be killed on the spot if they reacted too slowly. Wu Dao's main body raised his hand calmly and opened his palm. He was not fast. But for some reason, just as the golden light arrived in front of him, his palm grabbed it tightly and did not move at all. Great Rock Imperial Emperor's figure appeared. He was holding a golden spear in his hand. He could not hide the shock in his eyes. Araki Takashi was able to withstand his attack and hold his imperial weapon with his bare hands. What kind of body was that? What kind of power was that? Roar! Great Rock Imperial Emperor roared into the sky. He used his sound domain secret technique and revealed his main body. Whoosh! Great Rock Imperial Emperor's body trembled. Countless golden wings fell from his body. They turned into thousands of arrows and pierced toward Wu Dao's main body. These golden wings blocked all the escape routes for Wu Dao's main body. At the same time, a divine dragon that was thousands of feet long appeared behind him. It looked down and reached out its huge dragon claws. Roar! In the face of the two peerless Imperial Emperor's attacks, Wu Dao's main body suddenly spoke. He also used his sound domain secret technique, Sound of All Spirits. The roar of billions of living beings resounded throughout the world. Even Emperor Qing Yan and Dai Yu, who were fighting outside the Great Wasteland domain, looked over. The sound of all spirits exploded. The two people closest to Wu Dao's main body were naturally affected the most. They were Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Imperial Emperor. Their bodies shook violently. Their eyes widened. Their eyes were instantly bloodshot. Their teeth loosened, their ears buzzed, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Their faces were filled with astonishment. If they hadn't released their sound domain secret technique just now and blocked a lot of the damage, just this sound domain secret technique alone would have caused them to bleed from their 7 orifices. This person seemed to be even stronger than 800 years ago. As soon as the thought crossed their minds, Wu Dao's main body counterattacked. It was unstoppable, like a volcano erupting or an ocean bursting its banks. Wu Dao's main body exerted force. The golden spear in his hand trembled violently. Great Rock Imperial Emperor was also affected by the sound of all spirits. He was slightly distracted and could not hold on to the spear. It was instantly snatched back by Wu Dao's main body. Just as he reacted, the golden spear shot back at him at an even more terrifying speed. Great Rock Imperial Emperor frantically activated his divine sense. He tried to control his natal monarch weapon while dodging desperately. Although he managed to avoid being hit in the vital parts, his wings were still penetrated by his own monarch weapon. Blood gushed out like a fountain. More terrifyingly, Wu Dao's main body's fist followed closely behind the golden spear. Chapter 2981. This punch contained Wu Dao's techniques and Wu Dao's will. With an unstoppable aura, it pierced through the heavens and shattered everything. The numerous oncoming golden arrows were all broken. Great Rock Demon Emperor felt an extremely tragic aura coming towards him, almost suffocating him. There was nowhere to run. This fist technique, this power, should not exist in this world. Great Rock Demon Emperor raised his arms and pushed his bloodline to the limit, forming a bloodline vision behind him. A golden winged rock shone brightly and spread its wings, pouncing towards Wu Dao's original body. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion shook the earth and mountains. Flesh and blood splattered and bones were broken. Great Rock Demon Emperor's bloodline vision was destroyed by Wu Dao's original body with a single punch. His arms were unable to withstand this punch and were instantly blasted apart, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Whoosh! The power from Wu Dao's original body's punch surged into Great Rock Demon Emperor's body, destroying his vitality. Great Rock Demon Emperor wailed and his golden wings fell off as he retreated rapidly. On the other side, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai's dragon claw also descended. Wu Dao's original body was fearless against two enemies. He threw a backhand punch at the ferocious dragon claw. Bang! Roar! Dragon Emperor Huang Hai let out a blood-curdling scream as his giant dragon claw was shattered into pieces. The tremendous impact had even turned his dragon body into a bloody mess. In close combat, no one could withstand Wu Dao's original body's punch. Boom! Boom! The two peerless demon emperors did not dare to hesitate and immediately held up their own worlds. In their own worlds, they quickly recovered their vitality and healed their injuries. Wu Dao's original body's eyes were deep and unfathomable. He did not give them a chance to catch their breaths. Whoosh! Wu Dao's original body released Wu Dao's purgatory. Almost instantly, it enveloped a large area of the battlefield. Not only Dragon Emperor Huang Hai, Great Rock Demon Emperor, Spirit Horn Demon Emperor, Fei Lian Demon Emperor, Huado Demon Emperor, and more than 10 other peerless demon emperors were all trapped in Wu Dao's purgatory. In an instant, raging flames soared into the sky. 800 years ago, the perfected Wu Dao's purgatory was able to burn and refine many lesser mastery worlds. Now that Wu Dao's purgatory had improved, even the greater mastery worlds of many peerless demon emperors could not withstand it. Among the peerless demon emperors, there were differences in strength. Some peerless demon emperors' worlds that could not even last for a few breaths' time. Without the protection of the world, the flesh and blood of the peerless Fei Emperor could not withstand the power of the purgatory of martial arts and was quickly burned to ashes. Peerless monarch beasts like Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Monarch Da Peng were barely holding on. They kept unleashing their force of the realm to resist the martial purgatory. Charge out or we'll all die here. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai roared. More than 10 peerless demon emperors who were trapped in the purgatory joined forces and unleashed streams of majestic world energy to attack the barrier of Wu Dao's purgatory. Boom! 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 Wu Dao's purgatory kept shaking. Mysterious runes appeared on the barrier, condensing endless Dao and laws. It was not that easy to break through Wu Dao's purgatory. In the process, another 2 peerless demon emperors died in the Sea of Flames. Divine Elephant Demon Emperor and Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor were also trapped. However, under the control of Wu Dao's original body, the flames in the purgatory did not cause any harm to them. Divine Elephant Demon Emperor and Nine-Tailed Demon Emperor were shocked. Their battle strength could be ranked among the top among the peerless demon emperors. They might be able to gain the upper hand against Spirit Horn Demon Emperor and the others, but they would not be able to kill them. Demon emperors had a world to protect them, so it was difficult for them to die. Who would have thought that peerless demonic emperors would fall one after another right before their very eyes? Their corpses were incinerated into nothingness. Song and Eastern Wilderness had fought many times. Blood flowed like rivers, and corpses piled up like mountains. But most of those who died were demon soldiers, demon generals, and some demon kings. The number of demon emperors who died in the battle was not as many as Wu Dao's original body had killed in the span of a dozen breaths. Even the group of ordinary demonic emperors were shocked by the scene before them. In the sky outside Great Wilderness Domain, 7 constellation demon emperors' attention was originally on Emperor Qing Yan and Dai Yu. Now, he was also alerted by the commotion in Great Wilderness Domain. This Araki Takashi is indeed something. Constellation Demon Emperor frowned. His true form was a flood dragon. Heart Constellation Demon Emperor swayed her foxtail and murmured, "What Dao technique does this person cultivate? I've never seen it before." Constellation Demon Emperor said in a low voice, "The situation doesn't look good. If this continues, the juniors we brought will not be able to escape death." Of course, they did not care about the lives of Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Demon Emperor. But some juniors from Tsong, even if they were just demon kings, were far more important to 7 Constellation Demon Emperor than Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and the others. "You guys stay here and guard the young master. I'll go and kill this Araki Takashi." Constellation Demon Emperor said coldly. "Don't." Heart Constellation Demon Emperor giggled and said, "This person is interesting. Let me play with him." As they spoke, Constellation Demon Emperor and Heart Constellation Demon Emperor both headed toward the battlefield of Great Wilderness Domain. Dai Yu noticed this and her aura rose again. A huge blood-colored butterfly appeared in the world behind her. This blood-colored butterfly almost overlapped with her body. Then, the blood-colored butterfly's wings trembled slightly. Whoosh! A shocking storm swept across the boundless starry sky. Every gust of wind was like a sword, sweeping in all directions. Wherever the storm passed, all life was destroyed. This was Dai Yu's strongest killing move. In the world behind Emperor Qing Yan, countless divine dragons roared into the sky. They roared and breathed out crazily, trying to resist the impact of the storm. But Dai Yu's wings kept flapping. Each tremor seemed very small. But in reality, every time it flapped, it would instantly vibrate billions of times at high speed. These seemingly weak wings could create a storm that swept across the starry sky. Emperor Green Flame had no choice but to release his true body. Even so, his body could not withstand it. Dragon scales kept falling off, and in the blink of an eye, he was covered in wounds. This crimson moonstorm would also cause great damage to Dai Yu's body. Wounds had already appeared on Dai Yu's wings. Blood flowed out, making the wings even redder. They were like two blood-colored full moons hanging from two wings, staring at Emperor Azure Flame opposite them. "Come and help me!" Emperor Green Flame roared. Actually, he did not need to remind them. The remaining 5 constellation demon emperors had already transformed into their true bodies and held up their perfect worlds to block the storm. Under the crimson moonstorm, there was no pure land in the starry sky. Under the blood-colored moonlight, the storm was everywhere. All living beings had to bear the baptism of the endless storm. End of chapter. Chapter 2982. Constellation Horn Demon the Arch and Heart Constellation Demon the Arch had just left the galaxy and landed in the Great Wilderness Domain. They managed to avoid the Crimson Moonstorm. The 2 demonic thearchs frowned and exchanged glances. After a short pause, the 2 demonic thearchs thought of the same place. They did not turn back and continued to charge toward Wu Dao's original body. They had fought with Dai Yu several times. They had a rough understanding of Dai Yu and Emperor Green Flame's combat power. The Crimson Moonstorm was indeed terrifying. However, Emperor Green Flame and the remaining 5 demonic thearchs should be able to hold on for a while. It would not be too late for them to go back and help Emperor Green Flame after they finished off Araki Takashi. After all, the 2 of them were more than enough to deal with Araki Takashi. They probably would not even need a breath's worth of time. Break! The 2 of them descended. Constellation Horn Demon the Arch did not transform into his original body. He only held up his perfect world and pressed it down on Wu Dao's purgatory. Rumble! Wu Dao's purgatory had already expended a lot of energy fighting against more than 10 peerless demonic thearchs' worlds. Now, it could not withstand Constellation Horn Demon Thearcha's perfect world at all. It collapsed in an instant and countless flames were extinguished. However, the 2 of them were still too late. Only Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Demon the Arch were left in Wu Dao's purgatory. The rest were all turned into ashes, their bodies and souls destroyed. Although Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Demon the Arch survived, they were severely injured. Their bodies were charred black and their wings had fallen off. It was a tragic sight. More importantly, the 2 peerless demonic thearchs' greater success worlds were destroyed by Wu Dao's original body. Without other world fragments and source stones, the 2 destroyed worlds were extremely difficult to rebuild. Without the protection of their worlds, their combat power would be greatly reduced even if their physical injuries were healed. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Rock Demon the Arch took advantage of Constellation Horn Demon the Arch and Great Rock Demon Thearcha's attacks to escape, panting heavily. The 2 of them looked at Wu Dao's original body with fear in their eyes. Who would have thought that Araki Takashi would become so powerful after 800 years? Fortunately, Araki Takashi was about to fall. With Constellation Horn Demon Monarch and Heart Constellation Demon Monarch attacking, this Araki Takashi had no chance of surviving. Facing 2 peak-tier demon emperors, Wu Dao's real body did indeed feel immense pressure. However, his expression was calm and his eyes were calm as he took out the subduing hell cauldron. "Lowly human, surrender now." The Constellation Horn Beast Monarch roared as he supported a world to suppress it. Rumble! Within the body of Wu Dao's main body, a loud sound suddenly came, like raging waves beating the shore, the roar of the sea. Behind him, a huge flaming furnace appeared. It looked as if it was going to burst through the heavens and earth. 6 terrifying flaming dragons circled around it. In the blink of an eye, the furnace was burned red. Wu Dao pushed his bloodline to the limit and released his bloodline anomaly. At the same time, He lifted the hell-suppressing cauldron and charged towards the constellation Horn Demon Monarch. The Heart Constellation Demon Monarch's eyes lit up. To think that this human would have such guts in the face of their attacks. To think that he would even take the initiative to meet them head-on. Hee hee. The Heart Constellation Demon Monarch laughed charmingly and did not hold back. She supported a world and suppressed it at the same time. Roar, roar, screech, roar. 4 roars suddenly came from the hell-suppressing cauldron. In the next moment, the 4 saint souls on the 4 sides of the cauldron awakened at the same time, revealing huge figures. They were lifelike and exuded a terrifying aura. Azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, black tortoise. Among them, the azure dragon's saint soul appeared. Its eyes were like torches as it stared at the constellation Horn Demon Monarch opposite it with murderous intent. The constellation Horn Demon Monarch's expression changed drastically, and his aura weakened. It was not his fault. Although a trace of azure dragon bloodline flowed in his body, he was still a flood dragon after all. Facing a real azure dragon, he could not help but feel a sense of fear. Bloodline suppression. Soul suppression. The Heart Constellation Demon Monarch was also shocked when she saw the 4 saint souls. But soon, she reacted and reminded, it's just a few divine soul phantoms. They don't have flesh and blood, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Although she said that, in terms of aura, the difference between the 2 sides had already increased. Wu Dao's original body roared. The 4 saint souls surrounded him, and the heaven and earth cauldron appeared indistinctly. He held the hell-suppressing cauldron and smashed it toward the constellation Horn Demon Monarch and the Heart Constellation Demon Monarch. Boom, 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 boom. The 2 sides continued to fight, shaking the heavens and earth and causing the void to collapse. In the face of the 2 peak stage Demon Monarch's attacks, Wu Dao's original body relied on his bloodline avatar, the 4 saint souls, and the hell-suppressing cauldron. He was not at a disadvantage at all. This was the battle strength of Wu Dao's original body after he became a quasi-emperor. He could even fight against some peak stage demon monarchs. This Araki Takashi is actually so difficult to deal with? The constellation Horn Demon Monarch frowned, and his face darkened. He originally wanted to suppress Araki Takashi as soon as possible and then go back to help Emperor Qing Yan. But now, he and the Heart Constellation Demon Monarch were being held back by this Araki Takashi and could not advance or retreat. On the other side of the battlefield, Emperor Qing Yan and the others were completely at a disadvantage against Dai Yu's fierce attacks. If Emperor Qing Yan was severely injured because of the 2 of them, they would definitely be punished when they returned to the heavenly court. Don't hold back. Kill him. The constellation Horn Demon Monarch roared and transformed into his dragon form. His blood essence surged as he roared toward the sky. The Heart Constellation Demon Monarch also realized that the situation was not right and did not dare to be careless. She also transformed into her 9-tailed fox form. The world behind her was filled with endless illusions and charms. The Heart Constellation Demon Monarch stared into the eyes of Wu Dao's original body. But what puzzled her was that her charms did not seem to affect this Araki Takashi at all. This was too strange. Her cultivation level and Dao techniques were clearly above this Araki Takashi's. Even if this person's Dao heart was firm and indestructible, it should not be completely ineffective. In fact, it was not Wu Dao's original body that dispelled Heart Constellation Demon Monarch's charms. It was the white jade pendant that the evil emperor gave him. With the jade pendant in his possession, these illusions and seductive Dao arts were completely ineffective against him. Even if they could not charm Wu Dao's original body, the 2 peak demon monarchs' attacks became even more ferocious after they transformed into their original bodies. The pressure on Wu Dao's original body increased sharply. The heaven and earth furnace that he formed also started to shake. The flames flickered and the 6 fire dragons were suppressed. If this continued, the heaven and earth furnace would collapse at any time. At this moment, Wu Dao's original body's eyes lit up. He released his secret technique again. 2 huge doors appeared behind him and suppressed the constellation Horn Demon Monarch and the Heart Constellation Demon Monarch. One of the doors was filled with demonic aura and black hellfire. Countless pale palms reached out from the door. Shrill cries of ghosts could be heard from within. Door of Avicii. The other door was filled with Een energy and was covered with frost. The moment it descended, the surrounding temperature plummeted. This was another secret technique that Wu Dao's original body cultivated with the help of the Cold Spring chapter of the 9 Springs Hell Sutra during his seclusion. Door of Frost Hell. Chapter 2983. When the door of Avicii descended, the surging Avicii demonic chi and hellfire caused a huge impact on the heart constellation demon Thearka's charm world. Pale palms reached out from the charm world and tried to grab the heart constellation demon Thearka's body. They even wanted to drag her into the Avicii hell. Ah! The heart constellation demon Thearka's face paled when she saw the palms grabbing and touching her. She screamed and waved her 9 foxtails to block them. With the door of Avicii, Wu Dao's original body immediately turned the situation around and gained the upper hand. On the other side, the door of Frost Hell pressed down on the constellation horn demon the Arch. Break! The constellation horn demon the Arch stretched out his dragon body and roared. His bloodline surged as he supported a world and slammed it against the huge cold door. Boom! The collision between the two resulted in a deafening explosion. Roar! The constellation horn demon the Arch screamed. Not only did he fail to move the door of Frost Hell, but he was also suppressed. A 1,000-foot-long dragon kept struggling under the door of Frost Hell. Its body was covered in blood and dragon scales were falling off. It seemed to be in great pain. The heart constellation demon Thearka's expression changed drastically. The situation was not right. Without the two of them in the astral battlefield outside the Great Wilderness Domain, Emperor Azure Flame was completely suppressed by the blood butterfly. Now, not only were they unable to kill this Araki Takashi, but the constellation horn demon the Arch was severely injured. The situation was critical. What technique was that? Why was the constellation horn demon the Arch in so much pain? This scene surprised even Wu Dao's original body. The door of Frost Hell and the door of Avicii each had their own strengths, but in terms of Dao techniques, they were similar. If the door of Avicii could not injure the heart constellation demon the Arch, why was the door of Frost Hell so destructive? The martial Dao body's eyes narrowed as he noticed the frost covering the door of the frozen hell. He immediately thought of the reason. The door of Frost Hell was a secret technique he cultivated with the help of the 9 Springs Hell Sutra's Cold Spring chapter. The frost on it was actually formed by the cold spring of hell. The 9 springs of hell contained different kinds of strange powers. The hell's cold spring was the coldest water in the world. It was extremely harmful to any living being, especially to the demonic beasts in the water. The damage it caused was the most obvious, and its lethality was the greatest. Although dragons were also a branch of dragons, they mainly roamed the rivers and stirred up trouble. That was why the door of Frost Hell was able to cause such obvious damage to the constellation horn demon emperor. Even the constellation horn monster monarch's perfected world couldn't withstand the frost on the door of Frost Hell and could collapse at any moment. Without the protection of a world, the constellation horn beast monarch was even more vulnerable to the door of Frost Hell. Not to mention, behind the gates of Frost Hell, there was still Wu Dao's true body, surrounded by the heaven and earth furnace, and holding the hell-suppressing cauldron in his hand. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon Monarch, who had just escaped with their lives, were dumbfounded. How could they have known that this Araki Takashi had barely managed to kill a peerless demon emperor 800 years ago? And now, he had the upper hand against 2 of the 7 constellations' demon emperors. On the astral battlefield, young master, the situation isn't good. Constellation Horn and Heart Constellation are in trouble. Let's retreat first. What's going on? Didn't they say that Araki Takashi is at most a peerless demon emperor? I'm not sure. Emperor Azure Flame's expression darkened. This battle was worse than before. Although both sides had been injured in the previous battle with Dai Yu, he and the 7 constellations' demon emperors had the upper hand. Now, Dai Yu wasn't seriously injured, but their worlds were already damaged. If they continued, their lives would be in danger. Retreat! Emperor Azure Flame shouted and released a secret technique. More than a dozen 1,000-foot-long azure dragons burst out of his body and coiled around the 2 red moons in the sky. The azure dragons temporarily blocked the red moons against the blood-red moonlight. The howling storm around them weakened slightly. Emperor Azure Flame and the others finally had a chance to catch their breath and retreated. At the same time, Constellation Horn and Heart Constellation Demon Emperors also heard Emperor Azure Flame's voice and prepared to retreat. Constellation Horn Demon Emperor pushed his essence spirit to its limits. His blood chi surged and his world power surged, trying to create a space to escape. Trying to escape? Wu Dao's true body's eyes shone brightly. He descended from the sky with a hell-suppressing cauldron and stepped heavily on the struggling dragon head of Constellation Horn Demon Emperor. The heaven and earth cauldron and door of the frost hell pressed down at the same time. Crack! Crack! Crack, crack. Cracks appeared on Constellation Horn Demon Emperor's perfected world and spread rapidly. Constellation Horn Demon Emperor's body was also stepped on by Wu Dao's true body. He struggled with all his might and roared, trying to escape. Boom! Without a word, Wu Dao's true body raised the hell-suppressing cauldron and smashed it down on Constellation Horn Demon Emperor's head. In just one hit, his flesh was lacerated and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. The Constellation Horn Demon the Arch let out a sorrowful cry as he struggled less vigorously. Wu Dao's true body raised his brows slightly. As expected of a peak Imperial Emperor. He used all his strength and smashed down with the hell-suppressing cauldron, but still failed to kill him. Heart Constellation Demon Emperor was enraged when she saw this scene. She shouted, "Araki Takashi, how dare you!" Heart Constellation Demon Emperor unleashed all her strength and pushed her essence spirit to the limit. She activated her charm world and bounced off the door of Avicii. She rushed towards Wu Dao's true body, trying to save Constellation Horn Demon Emperor. Just one door of Avicii was not enough to suppress a peak Demon Emperor's perfected world. Just in time, Wu Dao's true body sneered. He was still stepping on Constellation Horn Demon Emperor, holding the hell-suppressing cauldron in one hand and releasing a mystic technique with the other. Door of Hell condense. Boom! A huge sinister door appeared in mid-air and descended from the sky, suppressing Heart Constellation Demon Emperor. Before Wu Dao's true body left the infernal court, he went to the Cold Spring Prison and Bitter Spring Prison. He saw the Cold Spring and Bitter Spring Prison in the 9 Springs Hell Sutra. Therefore he cultivated 2 mystic techniques in this seclusion, the Door of Hell and the Door of Hell. The Bitter Spring of Hell was very lethal to the ghost race. Although the Door of Hell did not cause any additional damage to the fox race, it was still a powerful and terrifying technique. One door of Avicii was not enough to suppress Heart Constellation Demon Emperor. With another Door of Hell, the situation was different. The 2 doors descended. Heart Constellation Demon Emperor's expression changed. She was panicking and could only barely resist. She could not even protect herself, let alone save Constellation Horn Demon Emperor. Although Emperor Qing Yan and the others had a chance to catch their breath, they were still locked on by Dai Yu. They could not spare time to save the 2 of them. They could only rely on themselves. Heart Constellation Demon Emperor's face was pale. Araki Takashi stepped on Heart Constellation Demon Emperor expressionlessly. He only raised the hell-suppressing cauldron and smashed it on Constellation Horn Demon Emperor's head. Every time, blood splattered, bones and flesh were sent flying. Constellation Horn Demon Emperor did not make a sound. He was on the verge of death. When Constellation Horn Demon Emperor died, Araki Takashi would definitely turn around and deal with her. End of chapter. Chapter 2984. She could no longer care about the Constellation Horn Demon the Arch. She was already very lucky to be able to escape. Ah! The Heart Constellation Demon the Arch screamed and released a mystic technique. The 9 foxtails behind her swelled rapidly. Immediately after, one of the blood-red foxtails suddenly broke, spewing out endless blood mist that dyed half the sky of the great wilderness domain red. This was the blood of a peak demon the Arch. On the battlefield below, billions of living beings subconsciously looked up and were shocked by this scene. A 10,000 feet long flood dragon was being stepped on by a seemingly tiny purple-robed figure. It was already smashed beyond recognition and twitched weakly. Another 9-tailed fox was being suppressed by 2 huge doors and had to break one of its tails. The billions of demon race soldiers were already thinking of retreating. Some had even started to retreat. They could clearly see that Emperor Qing Yan was retreating outside the Great Wilderness Domain. On the battlefield of the Great Wilderness Domain, Araki Takashi had killed more than 10 peerless demon thearchs. He was simply invincible and could suppress everything. The Heart Constellation Demon the Arch used a mystic technique to break one of her tails. Finally, she managed to break free from the 2 doors and fled in the direction of Emperor Qing Yan and the others. Araki Takashi, listen carefully. I'll avenge my tail in the future. The Heart Constellation Demon thearch's voice was sharp and piercing. It was no longer as gentle as before and was filled with resentment and hatred. Wu Dao's real body did not answer. He only looked at her coldly and used his strength again to lift the prison-suppressing cauldron and smash it down on the Constellation Horn Demon the Arch. Boom! This time, the top of the Constellation Horn Demon thearch's head was smashed and a huge bloody hole appeared. The constellation Horn Demon Thearch's essence spirit was also shattered into pieces. One of the 7 constellation demon Thearchs, the constellation Horn Demon the Arch, died on the spot. The Heart constellation demon the Arch wanted to escape, but Wu Dao's real body did not intend to let her go. Wu Dao's real body carried the constellation Horn Demon Thearch's huge dragon corpse in one hand and the prison-suppressing cauldron in the other. His black hair danced and his eyes burned with purple flames. He stepped into the air and chased after the Heart constellation demon the Arch. Emperor Qing Yan, the remaining 6-7 constellations monarchs, and even Dai Yu looked in their direction as they sensed something. The scene was too shocking. Wu Dao's real body had just killed a peak-tier demon the Arch, and it was one of the 7 constellations demon Thearchs. Now, he was carrying 1,000-feet-long flood dragon's body and charging over. His aura was too powerful. The faces of Emperor Qing Yan and the others turned extremely ugly. They had fought with Dai Yu many times. Although they returned with injuries every time, their lives were never in danger. Who would have thought that he would actually suffer such a huge setback today? This time, not only did he fail to severely injure Dai Yu, he even lost the constellation Horn Demon Emperor in the Great Wilderness. Boom! Monarch Blue Flame used a secret technique and pointed at the sky above his head. A huge crack instantly appeared above him, emitting rays of light. The multicolored light landed on Emperor Qing Yan and the others, enveloping them and quickly flying towards the crack in the starry sky. Wu Dao's true body's aura was at its peak. After arriving at this place, he didn't hesitate to soar into the air. Stop chasing. Dai Yu's voice rang in his mind. Confusion flashed through the martial Dao body's mind. He and Dai Yu clearly had the upper hand. The enemy had lost a member. This was the best time to chase after them. Why would they let them go? Before he could figure it out, he felt a huge pressure coming through the crack in the starry sky. He couldn't block it at all. Wu Dao's true body frowned. He slowly descended to Dai Yu's side. 2 figures also soared into the sky and chased after Emperor Qing Yan and the others. They were Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch, who had just escaped death. Lord Blue Flame, bring me along. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai shouted as he chased. I'm only 1 step away from reaching the great circle of the martial emperor realm. As long as I have enough cultivation resources. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch had chosen to side with Tsong not only because of Tsong's strength. Both of them had guessed that behind Emperor Qing Yan, there might be an unimaginably huge force. Tsong might just be the tip of the iceberg. This faction's strength was unfathomable, and they had an endless supply of cultivation resources. They had submitted to Tsong partly because they hoped to get a chance to truly join Tsong and that powerful force. However, they had just submitted and hadn't done anything yet. Naturally, they couldn't ask Emperor Qing Yan for help. But if they didn't ask now, they wouldn't have the chance anymore. Emperor Qing Yan and the others left again. They didn't dare to face Dai Yu or Araki Takashi in the vast wilderness. Desolate Marshall's earlier methods had already frightened the 2 of them completely. Moreover, this might be a better chance. Constellation Horn Demon the Arch, one of the 7 constellation demon Thearchs, had died. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai was also a dragon. He couldn't think of anyone more suitable for this position. Emperor Qing Yan stood in the crack in the starry sky and looked down at Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch who were flying over. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch were chasing after them. They didn't notice Emperor Qing Yan and the others' gazes. Those gazes were extremely cold. Some of the 7 constellation demon Thearchs looked at Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch with murderous intent. If the 2 of them had not lied about the military intelligence and said that Desolate Marshall was nothing to fear, perhaps the Dragon Emperor would not have died in the Grand Desolate World. Dang! Emperor Qing Yan suddenly spoke and slashed downwards. 2 rays of light fell from the sky and cut Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch in half. Blood dyed the starry sky. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon the Arch fell slowly. They looked at the figures in the starry sky that were getting further and further away. Their eyes were filled with confusion and doubt. Why? I've already submitted. 2 ants, do you think you're worthy of following me? Emperor Qing Yan's voice was filled with anger. Constellation Horn Demon the Arch had just died and Emperor Qing Yan had suffered a great loss. He had nowhere to vent his anger. These 2 were simply courting death. Hearing this, Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Demon Monarch De Peng recalled the last words Dai Yu had said to them before they broke off their relationship with her. Qing Yan has a special background and a powerful bloodline. He sees all living things as ants. You may be dragons, but you're no different to him. Song might not be a good home for you. Be careful in the future. The two didn't think much of it and didn't take it to heart. They didn't expect it to come true today. Dragon Emperor Huang Hai and Great Peng Demon Thearka's primordial spirits started to disperse. The two of them turned their heads and looked in Dai Yu's direction. Their eyes were filled with guilt, regret, and self-blame. Unfortunately, it was all too late. When Dai Yu saw this, she couldn't help but lower her eyes and sigh. After all, these two had followed her for many years. Although they had broken up, she couldn't help but sigh when she saw them end up like this. End of chapter. Chapter 2985. The huge crack in the starry sky was slowly healing. Monarch Qing Yan looked down at Dai Yu, shook his head and said, Xueqi, I wanted to keep you alive to train your cultivation and strengthen your bloodline. But next time, I won't give you another chance. Then, Emperor Qing Yan looked at Wu Dao's true body and the huge dragon corpse in his hand. He clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. That's because Desolate Marshal has caused a calamity. He's going to bring calamity to the eastern wilderness. The next time I come to the great wilderness, I will show you our true strength. I will kill this person with my own hands and slaughter all the creatures in the eastern wilderness. I will use the blood of billions of creatures in the eastern wilderness as a sacrifice to the soul of the mansion of the horn. His voice was like thunder, spreading to every corner of the great wilderness. No one doubted Emperor Qing Yan's words. Because many people knew that Song's strength was not limited to this. Fear and worry appeared on most of the eastern wilderness people's faces. Some creatures even looked at Wu Dao's true body with complicated expressions. In just a few words, Emperor Qing Yan put all the pressure on Wu Dao's true body. He was telling everyone that the culprit behind the destruction of the eastern wilderness and the deaths of billions of creatures was Araki Takashi. Wu Dao's true body was not relaxed either. Emperor Qing Yan's true body was most likely the heavenly court. The terrifying force that had destroyed several epochs and buried many emperors. No one could deal with such a powerful force calmly. At this moment, Dai Yu suddenly stretched out her hand and held his hand, holding it gently. Wu Dao's true body looked at her. Dai Yu also turned her head. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. In an instant, Wu Dao's true body felt lighter. All the pressure disappeared. At this moment, the two of them stood side by side as if they could face any enemy, even the legendary heavenly court. Wu Dao's true body looked up to the sky and shouted, Qing Yan, if you dare to come to the great wilderness again, this flood dragon will be your end. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Dao stomped heavily on the ground, causing flesh and blood to splatter everywhere. With a loud crack, the constellation horn demon Thearka's corpse was trampled into two. Roar! The 6 beasts under the 7 constellations monarch beast uttered furious roars. Emperor Blue Flame's face was livid. If it weren't for his injuries, he would have immediately gone down and torn that Araki Takashi into pieces. But he knew that now was not the best time. Good. Emperor Qing Yan was so angry that he laughed and applauded. It had been a long time since someone dared to provoke him like this. This sort of feeling even caused him to feel a trace of freshness and excitement. Emperor Qing Yan grinned and said slowly, I will definitely come to the great wilderness again. It won't be long. That will be the end of the eastern wilderness, the end of all you ants. The crack in the starry sky had completely closed, and Emperor Qing Yan and the others had disappeared. Only Emperor Qing Yan's voice was still echoing in the great wasteland domain. Although the Eastern Barren Territory had won this battle again, Emperor Blue Flame's last words still made the Eastern Barren Territory's creatures feel gloomy. No one knew when Emperor Qing Yan would come again. No one knew what would happen the next time Emperor Qing Yan came. No one knew if Dai Yu and Araki Takashi could stop him. Wu Dao's true body looked in the direction where Emperor Qing Yan and the others had disappeared and murmured, they might have returned to the heavenly court. What's with that powerful pressure? I'm not sure. Dai Yu shook her head and said, I tried, but I couldn't break in at all. After the battle ended, the generals of the eastern wilderness cleaned up the battlefield. Wu Dao's true body had gained a lot from this battle. He had obtained the greater success worlds of more than 10 peerless demon emperors. Unfortunately, half of the horned demon emperor's world had been devoured by the door of frost hell in the battle. It had fallen into hell. The door of Frost Hell not only had strong killing power, but it could also connect to Hell. The door of Frost Hell's existence was equivalent to building a portal to Hell in Wu Dao's true body's domain. Dai Yu gave some simple instructions and returned to Butterfly Valley with Wu Dao's true body. They both knew that although they had defeated Emperor Qing Yan and the others and killed one of the 7 constellations' demon emperors, it was nothing to be happy about. The next battle was the one that would determine the survival of the eastern wilderness. Wu Dao's true body pondered and said, according to Emperor Qing Yan, he might come back soon. Dai Yu nodded and said, he and the 7 constellations' demon emperors were heavily injured. It will take them a few hundred years to fully recover. Fortunately, you helped me stall the 2 peak stage demon emperors in this battle. My world isn't that badly damaged. It will recover after some rest. At this point, both of them fell silent. After a long while, Wu Dao's true body said slowly, the next time Emperor Qing Yan comes, the 2 of us won't be able to stop him. In fact, both of them were well aware of this point. Song's strength was definitely not just limited to Emperor Qing Yan and the 7 constellations' demon emperors. Since Emperor Qing Yan had said so, the next time he descended on the Great Wilderness, it would be with an army. As long as there were 2 peak stage experts like Emperor Qing Yan, Dai Yu would not be able to stop them. If there were a few more peak stage emperors like the 7 constellations' demon emperors, Dai Yu and Wu Dao's true body together would not be able to stop them. No matter how strong a peak stage emperor was, there was a limit. Dai Yu was silent. After a while she said, I'm afraid we will only be able to resolve the next crisis if we become a great emperor. Otherwise, although that was the case, it was not that easy to become a great emperor. Since the beginning of time, in the endless river of time, countless talented geniuses had emerged. However, only a few of them had become emperors in the end. Wu Dao's true body thought for a while and said, if I want to improve my cultivation level, I might have to leave the Great Wilderness for a while. Okay. Dai Yu agreed without hesitation. She did not ask where Wu Dao's true body was going. Actually, it was easy to make the connection if he chose to leave the Great Wilderness now. After all, the next time Emperor Qing Yan came, the Great Wilderness would be destroyed. It was normal to choose to escape due to fear. However, Dai Yu had never doubted Su Zimo. On one hand, she knew Su Zimo's Tao. On the other hand, she trusted Su Zimo. Aren't you curious where I'm going? Wu Dao's true body asked with a smile. Aren't you afraid that I won't come back? How dare you? Dai Yu narrowed her eyes. Wu Dao's true body smiled and said, before I leave, I have a sutra to read to you. It should help you. Sutra? Dai Yu raised her brows. Wu Dao's true body nodded and told Dai Yu about the 600-word Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra. In fact, he did not only have the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra, but also many other taboo sutras. However, the inheritance of taboo sutras was too complicated. Unless one saw the first version of the taboo sutra with their own eyes, they would not be able to understand its essence. Even if Wu Dao's true body told Dai Yu about the taboo sutra, she would not be able to learn anything. It would be like listening to a heavenly book. For example, the Sky-Burying Sutra was printed on a stone tablet. Not only were there the sutras of the Sky-Burying Sutra, but there were also the Tao techniques and Tao rhymes of the Sky-Burying Sutra. One could only cultivate it by seeing it with their own eyes. Otherwise, the Taboo Sutra would have spread throughout the 3,000 worlds and would not be so rare and precious. End of chapter. Chapter 2986. For the next 10 years, Wu Dao's original body stayed in the Butterfly Valley, teaching the Yin-Yang rune scripture while discussing Tao techniques with Dai Yu. Although Wu Dao's original body had not stepped into the Emperor realm, his Tao techniques were unique and had refined countless secret techniques and scriptures. He had his own unique understanding of many Tao techniques. When the two of them discussed the Tao, they both gained something from each other. However, Wu Dao's original body was still a little short of stepping into the Emperor realm. Dai Yu also did not sense any opportunity to become a great emperor. She could feel that she was getting closer and closer to the threshold of the great Emperor realm, but she still could not find a way to truly step into it. 10 years later, Wu Dao's original body was ready to leave. If he continued to cultivate in the vast wilderness, it would be difficult to step into the Emperor realm in hundreds of years. You're going to hell? Dai Yu was slightly surprised to hear Wu Dao's original body's plan. Wu Dao's original body had mentioned his identity as the Lord of Hell to Dai Yu. However, he had always been cautious about this identity. Thinking back to the day when he fell into hell, everything was pushed by the Tombkeeper. Wu Dao's original body did not want to be bound by an identity. Wu Dao body explained, "There is a taboo secret manual in the Infernal Court, the 9-spring scripture of hell. I have cultivated 2 parts of it. If I can refine this taboo secret manual, I should have a chance to step into the Imperial realm." "Do you want to go to a Vichy hell again?" Dai Yu asked. "No need." Wu Dao's original body activated his primordial spirit, and with a thought, a huge door with Densine Qi appeared behind him, the door of Frost Hell. "This door is connected to hell. I can return to the Infernal Court at any time." The Infernal Court. Since the new Lord of Hell left, the Infernal Court returned to a short period of peace. Cold Spring Hellmaster was killed by the new Hellmaster. In the battle at Fengdu City, 7 of the remaining 8 Hellmasters died, including 2 quasi-emperor Hellmasters. Only the old Hellmaster Ku Quan was lucky enough to survive. Although many of the Infernal Realm's creatures didn't approve of this Lord of Hell, they didn't dare to raise any objections. His methods were thunderous and iron-blooded, and he also had the Netherworld treasure mirror. After all, he was an outsider. Many Earth prison creatures, especially the Nether race in Earth prison, were strongly against him. After Wu Dao's true body left, the 9 Hells temporarily revered the prison concubine as their mistress. Regarding this prison concubine, many of the Infernal Realm's living beings still had many criticisms in private. Firstly, this Hell concubine's cultivation level was too low. She had only just become a Netherworld general. The Netherworld general was the true One Realm in the Heaven Realm. Secondly, the Lord of Hell had left and hadn't shown himself for a long time. This Hell concubine had the fundamental formula of the Hell Sutra of the 9 Springs, so it was easy for others to covet it. However, the Hell concubine was guarded by Hellmaster Ku Quan. Even if the Hell concubine was disloyal, they wouldn't dare to act rashly. Although Hell Overlord Ku Quan was old, he was still a quasi-emperor. From a certain point of view, after Wu Dao's true body left, the Infernal Court had always been in a state of being without a leader. Although many Infernal Realms living beings revered Princess Yufei as their mistress, Princess Yufei's cultivation level wasn't high. It was difficult for her to suppress the many vicious and bloodthirsty Infernal Realms living beings. Fortunately, with Hell Overlord Ku Quan and Hell Overlord Cold Spring guarding her, she was safe for a period of time. However, as time passed, Wu Dao's true body still hadn't returned. There wasn't even any news about him. Gradually, there were some waves in the Infernal Court. Of course, Hell Overlord Ku Quan and Hell Overlord Cold Spring were enough to deal with these situations and stabilize the situation. However, 10 years ago, the peace of the Infernal Court was completely broken. For some reason, pieces of world fragments suddenly fell from the Infernal Court. And they were perfected world fragments. The Hell Kings and Nether Kings of the Infernal Court couldn't break through due to the shattering of heaven and earth and their incomplete laws. It was even difficult for them to touch the quasi-emperor realm. These Hell Kings and Nether Kings had been stuck in the perfected Grotto Heaven realm for a long time. As long as they were given the slightest opportunity, they would be able to grasp it and quickly break through. As for the Hell Kings and Netherworld Kings, the falling fragments of perfect worlds were simply a heaven-sent opportunity for them. After these perfected world fragments fell, it instantly set off a bloody storm. In the end, they were divided up by dozens of Hell Kings and Nether Kings. Hell Overlord Cold Spring, Tang Kong, also obtained a perfected world fragment with the help of Hell Overlord Ku Quan. In just a few years, these Hell Kings and Nether Kings who obtained the world fragments had all broken through and became quasi-emperors. In the 9 levels of Hell, other than Hell Overlord Ku Quan and Cold Spring Prison, the Hell Overlords of the other 7 levels of Hell had changed again after countless battles. In the end, the 7 Hell Overlords finally set their eyes on Princess Yufei. In fact, before Wu Dao's true body left that day, Hell Overlord Ku Quan had told him, "The creatures of the Infernal Court were ferocious and bloodthirsty. Once you leave, you will be like a headless dragon. It is very likely that you will fall into chaos and endanger Princess Yufei." However, even Hell Overlord Ku Quan did not expect this calamity to come so soon. Originally, he thought that as long as he was alive, he could at least protect Princess Yufei's safety. But he did not expect that the many world fragments that fell 10 years ago would immediately break the balance of power in the Infernal Court, and dozens of quasi-emperors emerged. Hell Overlord Ku Quan sensed that the situation was not good. He immediately escorted Princess Yufei out of Black Spring City and went straight to Cold Spring Prison. There were only two people by Princess Yufei's side, Hell Overlord Ku Quan and Tang Kong, who were completely trustworthy. Tang Kong was able to take the position of Hell Overlord Ku Quan because of Wu Dao's true body. The flames of war continued to spread and soon reached Cold Spring Prison. Hell Overlord Ku Quan and Cold Spring Prison could not resist the Hell Coalition army formed by the 7 Hell Overlords. They were defeated and retreated all the way to Cold Spring Grand Hall. On the square in front of the Grand Hall, the flames of war swirled. Corpses were strewn everywhere, and blood flowed. It was an extremely tragic scene. Tang Kong's armor was already in tatters. He held a long saber in his hand and looked at the scene in front of him. In a trance, he seemed to see the scene of the purple-robed man slaughtering here many years ago. It was like déjà vu. But today they were going to die here. Hell Overlord Ku Quan's white hair made him look even older. He stood side by side with Tang Kong and looked at the densely packed Hell Coalition army in front of them. The 7 Hell Overlords stood in mid-air, and there were more than a dozen quasi-emperors. They sighed in their hearts. The difference was too great. Both of them knew that Cold Spring Grand Hall was about to fall. Tang Kong, why do the two of you have to do this? Hell Overlord Ku Quan raised his head slightly and said, "Hand over the Hell Concubine, and we will spare your lives on account of our old friendship." Tang Kong sneered and scolded. "Wind Shadow, Princess Yufei is the Dao companion of the Hell Overlord. She is the mistress that we all respect. How dare you have designs on her?" Ha 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 ha. Tang Kong's words caused the 7 Hell Overlords and the Quasi-Emperors to roar with laughter. Hell Overlord Ku Quan pursed his lips and said, "What kind of Hell Overlord is that, a Rocky Takashi? He is just a foreign race that accidentally took over the nest of a magpie. We've never acknowledged him, let alone become the mistress of the house." End of chapter. Chapter 2987. Haha. Tang Kong sneered. "Back in Fengdu City, my master had the Netherworld treasure mirror and all of you bowed to him. Who dared to oppose him? My master has only left for a short while and all of you can't wait to jump out. Aren't you afraid that my master will kill all of you when he returns?" The 7 Hell Masters and the Boundary Emperors all changed their expressions when they heard this. In their hearts, they were still somewhat fearful of the new Lord of Hell. After a moment of silence, Hell Master Ku Quan laughed and said, "There has been no news of him for so many years. I guess he must have died in the middle world. He's just a dead man. What's there to be afraid of? Tang Kong, Ku Quan, don't try to stall for time. If you don't get out of the way, we'll give the order to kill without mercy." Perhaps Tang Kong's words had caused the 7 Hell Masters to panic. They did not want to drag this out for fear of any unexpected changes. At this moment, the door of the main hall slowly opened. Princess Yufei walked out from inside. The eyes of the hundreds of millions of Hell beings lit up when they saw Princess Yufei. Princess Yufei looked thinner and more haggard, but she was still stunning and instantly attracted countless gazes. Over the years, because she had mastered the Hell Sutra of the 9 Springs, her cultivation speed had been extremely fast. Although she had not become a Netherworld king, she had cultivated to the peak of the Netherworld general realm. "Mistress, why have you come out?" Wu Dao's original body had saved Tang Kong before. Even in the face of Princess Yufei, whose cultivation level was far lower than his, Tang Kong was still extremely respectful. "Thank you for protecting me all these years." Princess Yufei bowed deeply to Hellmaster Ku Quan and Tang Kong. If not for these two, she would not have been able to survive until today. Princess Yufei said, "The person they want is me. The two of you don't have to sacrifice your lives for me." Tang Kong was about to speak when Princess Yufei used her divine consciousness to say, "Escape. You must survive. I believe he will come back. Someone has to tell him about today's matter." Tang Kong was silent. Bitter Spring Prison Lord smiled bitterly. "Tang Kong, you should go. I don't have much time left. I'll stay here and accompany Mistress on her last journey." Seeing that Princess Yufei was willing to come out, Hell Lord Hong Quan was naturally overjoyed. He looked at Princess Yufei and said softly, "You don't have to be afraid. As long as you obey me, when I become the Lord of Hell, you will still be the matriarch of Hell. You will never become the Lord of Hell." Princess Yufei shook her head and said, "There is only one Master of Hell. He's dead. Hellmaster Hongquan's face darkened as he said coldly. Spring Hellmaster sneered and said, even if he's not dead, he won't be able to stop us. That day in Fengdu City, he gave it his all and only managed to kill 2 quasi-emperors. He was beaten to the point of vomiting blood. In the end, he had to use the underworld treasure mirror to stabilize the situation. Now we have 20 quasi-emperors. If he dares to return, he will definitely die. Even the underworld treasure mirror will not be able to protect him. Rumble. A loud noise suddenly came from the depths of the Cold Spring Hall, and the entire hell shook. Hundreds of millions of hell beings gathered in the square, and it was originally noisy. But at this moment, everyone held their breath and looked in the direction of the sound. Even the 7 Hellmasters and more than a dozen quasi-emperors frowned as they stared at the depths of the Cold Spring Hall, as if they wanted to see through the situation inside. However, although the door of the hall was open, it was dark inside. There was a powerful force that blocked everyone's vision and divine sense. Before anyone could react, the sound of footsteps could be heard in the hall. It came from afar and soon arrived at the entrance of the hall. Under countless gazes, a man in a purple robe, with a head of black hair and a silver mask walked out. The Lord of Hell. After a brief silence, there was an uproar in the sky and on the ground. Even the quasi-emperors in the air were shocked. Their eyes flickered, and their expressions were uncertain. Tang Kong, Hellmaster Ku Quan, and the others were in high spirits, and they were overjoyed. Princess Yufei looked at the familiar figure not far away. Her eyes were a little red, but she only pursed her lips and did not say a word. Wu Dao's appearance immediately suppressed the aura of the army of hundreds of millions of hell beings. Hellmaster Ku Quan was the first to react. If this continued, they would be defeated without a fight. Hellmaster Ku Quan suddenly said in a low voice, "This person is not the Lord of Hell. He is only wearing a mask and pretending to be the Lord of Hell." No one knew what the Lord of Hell looked like except for Princess Yufei. Hellmaster Ku Quan's clever move was that even if the Lord of Hell in front of them was real, there was no way to explain. Even if Wu Dao took off his mask, no one would recognize him. He could have confidently declared that the Lord of Hell was a fake. Hellmaster Ku Quan was also a little skeptical. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? He had just said that he would kill the Lord of Hell, and the Lord of Hell had appeared. He only understood when he heard Hellmaster Ku Quan's words. Regardless of whether the Lord of Hell in front of them was real or fake, they had to kill him first to prevent future troubles. Hellmaster Ku Quan said in a low voice, "Everyone, let's attack together and kill this fake Lord of Hell." Hellmaster Ku Quan's words dispelled the concerns of many hell beings. They would inevitably be wary if they were to attack the Lord of Hell. However, if they were to attack a fake Lord of Hell, they would have no qualms. In the face of the murderous boundary emperors, the Lord of Hell who had suddenly appeared seemed extremely calm. He did not take them to heart at all. Instead, he chatted casually with Princess Yufei. "Why are there so many boundary emperors?" Wu Dao asked. Before he left, Hellmaster Ku Quan was the only boundary emperor left. However, there were 20 of them in front of him. There were more than 30 boundary emperors lurking nearby. Princess Yufei briefly explained the situation of the many world fragments that had fallen into hell 10 years ago. 10 years ago? Perfect world fragments? Wu Dao raised his eyebrows slightly. He thought for a moment and understood the reason. Those perfect world fragments from 10 years ago should have been the Constellation Horn Demon Emperor who had died in his hands. At that time, the Door of Frost Hell had swallowed more than half of the Constellation Horn Demon Emperor's perfect world. Although Wu Dao had cultivated the Door of Frost Hell, he had not cultivated to the point where he could control things that fell into the Door of Frost Hell. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to it. He did not expect that these world fragments would instead create the Hell Kings and Underworld Kings of Hell. The two of them had only exchanged a few words when the 7 Hellmasters and more than a dozen Boundary Emperors had already arrived. They all released their Boundary Emperor's Grotto Heavens. Hellmaster Ku Quan and Tang Kong looked solemn. Wu Dao did not look up as if he did not see this scene. He only sighed softly at Princess Yufei and said, "It's my fault. Those perfect world fragments were accidentally dropped after I killed an opponent." When they heard the Martial Dao body's words, the 20 Boundary Emperors who had just arrived stopped in their tracks. What do you mean?" Some of them thought for a moment and quickly realized what he meant. They were so frightened that they trembled and their expressions changed. Some of them felt their legs go weak and almost fell from the sky. My friends in the college entrance examination, do your best. End of chapter. Chapter 2988. With just one sentence from Wu Dao's true body, the 7 hell overlords were thrown into disarray, their morale falling apart. This was not their fault. It was just that this sentence sounded too shocking. What kind of people possessed a perfect world? A true imperial emperor expert. And a peak emperor. However, even a peak emperor had been killed by Araki Takashi. They dared to attack Wu Dao's true body because they had the combat strength of a boundary emperor. But now, they suddenly realized that the reason they could become boundary emperors was because Araki Takashi had unintentionally given them an opportunity. The battle had not yet begun, but their courage had weakened and they were at a loss. Hell Overlord Dark Spring saw that the situation was not good. If this continued, they would collapse without a fight even if Wu Dao's true body did not make a move. Everyone, don't listen to his nonsense. Hell Overlord Dark Spring said in a deep voice. Before the Lord of Hell left, his combat strength had not reached the Emperor realm. Now that only a few thousand years have passed, how could he have reached the level of killing a peak emperor? That's right. Hell Overlord Dark Spring also said loudly. His words are full of loopholes and prove the fact that he is pretending to be the Lord of Hell. We are Hell Overlords. You are too naive to think that you can scare us with just one sentence. The 7 Hell Overlords gradually calmed down. However, the other boundary emperors were still a little hesitant. Hell Overlord Dark Spring swept his gaze and sneered. If you are scared off by just one sentence from him today, you will lose all face and become a laughing stock in the Hell world. When the boundary emperors heard this, they also felt a little embarrassed. They once again held up their boundary emperor grotto heavens and stared at Wu Dao's true body, ready to attack. Wu Dao's true body turned around and glanced at the 20 boundary emperors around him. His gaze was calm as he said slowly, losing face is better than losing life. In the Great Wasteland domain, he had experienced a true emperor battle. Those he faced were all peerless emperors and even peak emperors. Now, looking at the 20 boundary emperors around him, he really did not have much interest. Wu Dao's original body didn't even make a move. He just glanced at them indifferently and moved his divine sense. Suddenly, the bodies of the 20 quasi-emperors heated up. Whoosh! Before they could react, numerous crimson-red flames shot out from their bodies, burning their internal organs. Their skin and flesh cracked like red lotuses, and flames gushed out from their 7 apertures. The grotto heavens of these quasi-emperors were burning with raging flames, instantly turning red. In just a few breaths, he could no longer hold on and completely collapsed. Wu Dao's true body controlled these 6 supreme flames. As his cultivation base and divine sense increased, the power of each of these flames would increase as well. With his current cultivation level, even if it was just one type of flame, the surrounding boundary emperors would not be able to withstand it. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the bodies of the 20 quasi-emperors burned with red lotus hellfire, as they screamed miserably. No matter how they struggled, they could not break free from the red lotus karmic fire. The red lotus karmic fire burned all sins. Only those who were not tainted by karma and sinful would not be harmed at all. This scene was too impactful for the billions of living beings in hell. From the beginning to the end, Wu Dao's true body did not even move a single finger. In a few breaths, the 20 quasi-emperors were burned to ashes without a corpse left. Even the Lord of Hell back then was probably nothing more than this. In the past 10 years, the number of Hell experts who obtained the world fragment of the constellation Horn Demon Emperor and became quasi-emperors was more than the 20 that had just died. In the vicinity, there were more than 30 quasi-emperors lying in wait, waiting to see what would happen. Now that they saw this scene, the quasi-emperors did not dare to hesitate and appeared one after another. They came to the Cold Spring Hall and knelt down to Wu Dao's true body. Greetings, Master. The quasi-emperors bowed down. In the sky and on the ground, the billions of living beings in hell knelt on the ground with terrified expressions. Wu Dao's true body ignored them. He seemed to have discovered something and was deep in thought. Just now, when the red lotus karmic fire ignited on the bodies of the 20 quasi-emperors, the flames of the red lotus karmic fire deviated slightly. Wu Dao's true body stretched out his fingertip, and a cluster of red lotus karmic fire burned on it. The flame was slightly tilted, as if there was a special force guiding it in that direction. That was the direction of the cold spring of hell. The last time when Wu Dao's true body released the Red Lotus karmic fire, such a situation did not occur. It was just that after the Red Lotus karmic fire burned the nether energy, its power would increase. Now, it was very likely that the Red Lotus karmic fire's power had increased as his cultivation level increased. But what was this mysterious attraction to the Red Lotus karmic fire? The source was the cold spring of hell? The records of hell did not seem to mention that the cold spring of hell had such a characteristic. Or was the source of this attraction also the source of the cold spring of hell, the Nether River? Wu Dao's true body pondered for a long time, temporarily suppressing the curiosity in his heart. Dai Yu had once told him that there was a great terror at the end of the Nether River. If even Dai Yu was so afraid, there was no need for him to take the risk now. The most important thing was to cultivate the Hell Sutra of the Nine Springs, and at the same time refine the many fragments of the world to step into the Emperor realm. Wu Dao's true body was daydreaming, thinking about other things. The 30 or so quasi-emperors and hundreds of millions of hell creatures knelt on the ground, not daring to move. They were extremely anxious and tormented. Who knew what the Lord of Hell was thinking? It was not impossible for him to vent his anger on them because they did not do anything. The more Wu Dao's true body remained silent, the more afraid this group of people became, and their imaginations ran wild. Master! Hell Overlord Ku Quan called out softly. Wu Dao's true body came back to his senses. Hell Overlord Ku Quan pointed at the group of hell creatures kneeling on the square, and said tentatively, although these people are in the wrong, they do not deserve to die. They will be a great help if they stay by your side. Why don't you give them a chance? Rise. Wu Dao's true body nodded slightly. He did not intend to start a massacre and kill all of them. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief as if they had been pardoned, but they still did not dare to rise. Wu Dao's true body looked at the 30 or so quasi-emperors and hundreds of millions of hell creatures not far away, and said slowly, if you are willing to serve me as your master, there will naturally be greater opportunities for you in the future. If you are not willing, you can leave now. The 30 or so quasi-emperors were energized when they heard this. Wu Dao's true body had only killed a peak emperor, and the fragments of the world that fell unintentionally could help them become quasi-emperors. If there was greater opportunities, who would not be tempted? We are willing to follow Master to death. If we betray you, may the heavens and earth destroy us. The 30 or so quasi-emperors said in unison, and the hundreds of millions of hell creatures echoed. Hell Overlord Ku Quan looked a little lonely when he saw this. He did not have much time left, and even if there were more opportunities, it would have nothing to do with him. Chapter 2989. Wu Dao body turned to look at Tang Kong and Bitter Spring Hell Lord, nodding slightly. Thank you both for this time. Naturally, he could see that if it weren't for Hell Overlord Ku Quan and Tang Kong's desperate protection, Lady Jade wouldn't have been able to hold on until now. Tang Kong smiled. Master, you're too kind. It's our responsibility. Ku Quan also smiled. I don't have much time left. Now that Master has returned and is guarding Hell, I can leave in peace. The martial Dao body patted the Bitter Spring Hell Lord's arm and said, with me here you won't dive. Ha! Prison Master Ku Quan was startled. He didn't quite understand what the martial Dao Master meant. He hesitated and said, I'm afraid I only have a few thousand years left. The Grotto Heaven King's lifespan was 1,000,000 years. Although a quasi-emperor had not truly stepped into the emperor realm, their lifespan was greatly increased, reaching 2 to 3 million years. A few thousand years may seem long, but for a quasi-emperor with a lifespan of 3 million years, it was just a blink of an eye. Wu Dao said, don't worry. A few thousand years is enough. Wu Dao did not say anything. He did have a way to give Ku Quan and the others an opportunity, but the time was not yet right. Ku Quan saw that Wu Dao's tone was firm, and did not seem to be joking. He could not help but let his imagination run wild. He only had a few thousand years left. If he did not want to die, there was only one way, and that was to step into the Emperor realm. Only by stepping into the Emperor realm and increasing his lifespan could he survive. But the Infernal Court was shattered, and its laws were incomplete. He had been stuck at the quasi-Emperor realm for 2 million years. It was impossible for him to step into the Emperor realm. Could Master let me step into the Emperor realm and become a true Emperor? Thinking of this, Ku Quan's heart, which had been dead for many years, was stirred again. Wu Dao looked at Ku Quan and Tang Kong. I'm going to seclude myself in the infernal court for a while. I'll leave this place to you. Ku Quan and Tang Kong bowed and agreed. Emperor Qing Yan said that he would make a comeback. Dai Yu estimated that it might take a few hundred years. Time was tight. Wu Dao's true body exchanged a few words with Princess Yufei before heading to the cold springs of the other 7 hells to cultivate the remaining 7 chapters of the 9 Springs Hell Sutra. Flower Realm. Planet Qinglian. Over the past 10 years, Wu Dao's original body and Dai Yu had been discussing Dao in the Great Wasteland domain while Qinglian's original body was in seclusion. She had also gained a lot. However, after Wu Dao's true body entered hell, the connection between the 2 true bodies was once again severed. Su Zimo gradually woke up from his secluded cultivation in the cave. After calling Kitsune and Carefree over to his side, Su Zimo said, "Prepare yourselves. I'll take the 2 of you away from this place and return to the Sword World." Kitsune naturally had no problem with it and nodded calmly. Carefree stood at the side with an awkward expression, and he stuttered and hesitated to speak. "What's the matter?" Su Zimo looked at Carefree in surprise and asked. Baiming Xue smiled at the side and said, "Master, let's go back. Let Xiaoyao stay here to accompany his sister Mulian." Carefree's face instantly flushed red when he heard this. Carefree glared at Kitsune and did not speak. He seemed to be silently protesting against Kitsune exposing his past. Ha! Su Zimo was stunned. Seeing Carefree's angry and embarrassed look, he knew that Kitsune was right. Over the years, he had spent most of his time in seclusion and did not pay much attention to his second disciple. He did not expect that Carefree and Mulian would develop so quickly. Su Zimo smiled and asked, "I remember that before you went into seclusion, the 2 of you stayed together all day to discuss Dao and learn from each other, right?" Kitsune curled her lips slightly and said, "In the first year, he followed me and called me senior sister all day long. In the next few years, it was difficult for me to see him even once." "No way." Carefree looked embarrassed as he mumbled. Mulian was a chivalrous and upright person. If Carefree could become her Dao companion, Su Zimo would naturally be happy for him. However, he had another layer of worry in his heart. This was also the reason why he wanted to leave the flower world. Su Zimo pondered for a moment and said, "Do you still remember the nether calamity poison that immortal King Yulan mentioned when he visited the Sword World?" Kitsune nodded. Su Zimo said, "At that time, immortal King Yulan said that a large amount of water in the flower world was contaminated by the nether calamity poison, but no one noticed it. At that time, I suspected that this nether calamity poison might have been sprinkled by someone in the flower world. Moreover, this person's status in the flower world might not be low. It was precisely because of this suspicion that Su Zimo instructed immortal King Yulan to hide the situation of the 3 of them after coming to the flower world to prevent them from being targeted by the person who poisoned them. Why would someone in the flower world harm their own people?" Carefree asked in confusion. Su Zimo shook his head and did not say anything. This was only his guess, and he did not have any evidence. Su Zimo said, "No matter what, Carefree, if you want to stay on planet Qinglian, you must be careful everywhere. Not only do you have to hide your bloodline, but you also have to pay attention to some hidden dangers." Carefree nodded. Su Zimo pondered for a moment and left a message talisman to Carefree, saying, "If you feel that something is wrong, escape as soon as possible. If you can't escape, tear this message talisman and I will know." "Thank you, Master." Carefree hurriedly knelt on the ground and bowed to Su Zimo, his eyes slightly red. "Get up." Su Zimo smiled and gently flicked his sleeve, lifting Carefree up. Then, after a little tidying up, he took Kitsune, bade farewell to immortal King Yulan, and drove the immortal boat to the Sword World. Although Su Zimo had not stepped into the Grotto Heaven realm, he could break through the void and enter the spatial tunnel with the help of the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven Phantom. On the way back, Su Zimo said, "This time, I will probably leave the Sword World." "Leave the Sword World?" Kitsune looked at Su Zimo, a little puzzled. She could tell that Su Zimo's departure might not be as simple as going out for a walk. Su Zimo nodded and said, "In the beginning, when Emperor Iron Crown invited me to join the Sword World, I told him that I would leave one day. Of course, this was not an impromptu idea. Very early on, Su Zimo had thought of establishing a force so that the beings of the lower worlds could have equal opportunities to cultivate. The Heaven Baron sect was established under this idea. But as time passed, chaos appeared in Heaven Baron, Emperor Bo soon entered the Pure Land of Bliss, the world-destroying demon emperor came back to life, and immortal Emperor Chen Mu guarded the 9 heavens immortal realm. There were signs that the heaven world was no longer a good place. The Heaven Baron sect would definitely evacuate. Moreover, immortal Emperor Chen Mu had said something meaningful to him in the Emperor Tomb, telling him to escape as soon as possible so that he would not be involved in a catastrophe. Once the catastrophe that swept across 3,000 worlds broke out, at least so far, except for Wu Dao's original body, all his old friends of Heaven Baron, including his Qinglian's real body, would not be able to withstand it. Su Zimo had to leave a way out for these old friends of Heaven Baron. Chapter 2990. Master, where are you going? I'll follow you. Kitsune said. Su Zimo shook his head slightly. Stay in Sword World for now and continue cultivating. Strive to cultivate the true Wu Dao body to perfection as soon as possible. I'm going out to travel. If you follow me, you won't be able to gain any experience and might not even have time to cultivate. Kitsune lowered her head slightly in disappointment. After the two of them returned to Sword World, Su Zimo reorganized himself slightly before heading to Myriad Sword Palace to visit the 3 Emperor Lords who controlled Sword World. The 3 of them were not surprised to hear that Su Zimo intended to leave. Back then, the 3 of them had expected this day to come. The main reason why the old man with the iron crown left Su Zimo behind to be the peak master of 9th Sword Peak was to form a good relationship with him. However, the 3 of them were still surprised to hear that Su Zimo did not intend to be the peak master of 9th Sword Peak. Su Zimo did not hide it and said, if there's a chance in the future, I'll establish a faction and it's not suitable for me to be the peak master of Sword World. That was only one of the reasons. There was another reason that he did not mention. The 3 of them exchanged glances. They could not force Su Zimo since he had already made up his mind. The fat old man sighed. It's a pity that the position of peak master of 9th Sword Peak is empty. There's probably no suitable person in Sword World. Do you have anyone to recommend? The skinny old man looked at Su Zimo and asked. Su Zimo pondered for a moment and said, Kitsune. Her. The fat old man and thin old man exchanged glances in deep thought. The fat old man pondered and said, Kitsune attracted the 99 heavenly tribulations. After you left, she became the #1 true spirit of Sword World and obtained your legacy. Her potential is limitless and she is indeed qualified to be the peak master of 9th Sword Peak. The skinny old man frowned. She is indeed qualified. However, her cultivation realm is not high enough and it's a little early for her to be the peak master. The old man with the iron crown said, cultivation realm isn't a problem. When Su Zimo was the peak master of the 9th Sword Peak, he was only at the true spirit realm. The problem is, the 9th Sword Peak contains the sword burial Dao you left behind, yet Dark North seems to have not comprehended the sword burial Dao. So, how can he be the master of a peak? Su Zimo said, as far as I'm concerned, the 9th Sword Peak isn't equal to the burial peak. If Dark North were to become the peak master of the 9th Sword Peak, she would leave behind her own sword Dao on it. During the 10 years that Kitsune cultivated in the Flower World, she had once sparred with Xiao Yao and gained a lot from it. Even Su Zimo could sense the changes in Kitsune. Kitsune's cultivation method was inherited from Wu Dao. But in the Sword Dao, she formed her own sect. The old man's eyes lit up. In this way, the 9th Sword Peak might become the most unique existence in the sword dimension. The old man with the iron crown said, in recent years, there have been frequent wars in the 3,000 worlds. The wars between the dragons, phoenixes, and the Kuan Peng have involved many worlds. You have to be careful when you travel. Don't get involved in these wars. Otherwise, it will be difficult to escape. The fat old man nodded and said, in a war of this scale, even immortal kings can't protect themselves, let alone true spirit realm experts. The thin old man also said, it's not just a war between these super worlds. I heard that the civil war in the Great Wasteland domain is very tragic. Imperial emperors have fallen one after another, and there are even peak imperial emperors who died in the Great Wasteland. The old man with the iron crown said in a deep voice, I heard that the blood butterfly demon empress in the Great Wasteland domain has a helper by her side. His Taoist name is Araki Takashi, and his combat strength is extremely terrifying. After a pause, the old man with the iron crown reminded again, Su Zimo, you must not go to the Great Wasteland. It's too dangerous there. Su Zimo coughed softly and agreed casually. The old man with the iron crown was puzzled when he saw Su Zimo's strange expression. He asked, "Do you have a destination in mind for your trip this time?" Su Zimo recalled everything that happened in Songlang Mountain Range and could not help but smile. He nodded and said, "Sanguine Ape World." Su Zimo had met most of his old friends who had ascended to the upper world from Tianhuang mainland or obtained some information about them. Monkey was the only one who had no news of him. Monkey belonged to the Sanguine Ape race and logically speaking, he should have ascended to the Sanguine Ape world. However, due to the calamity of the Sanguine Apes, the Sanguine Apes did not step foot into the Celestial Tribute world and Su Zimo did not have the chance to find out about Monkey's whereabouts. Now that he planned to leave the Sword World and travel, the first person he thought of was Monkey. The two of them knew each other the earliest and had a deep relationship. Not only did Monkey save his life, the two of them even lived together in Songlang Mountain Range for a period of time. Those days were unforgettable. Sanguine Ape World? The old man with the iron crown thought for a moment and said, "The Sanguine Ape World isn't that dangerous. Ever since the calamity of the Sanguine Apes, the Sanguine Apes suffered heavy losses and their vitality was greatly damaged. They rarely appear in the 3,000 realms anymore." The fat old man advised, "You're only a step away from the Grotto Heaven realm. Why don't you wait until you enter the Grotto Heaven realm before leaving? That way you'll be safer." "That's right." The skinny old man nodded as well. Su Zimo said, "My situation is a little special. If I cultivate in seclusion, I don't know how long it'll take for me to enter the Grotto Heaven realm." "Seniors, there's no need to worry. Given my current cultivation, unless an Imperial Lord expert attacks personally, the others won't pose much of a threat to me. Given his current combat strength, he could definitely kill ordinary kings. Even if he encountered peerless or peak kings, he could make use of the Tai Yin Yang escape technique to escape from the battlefield at any time." The three Imperial Lords reminded him again before allowing Su Zimo to leave. Before he left, Su Zimo visited the 8 Peak Masters and drank until dawn. After that, he met with Yun Ting again. Ever since the battle in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain, the gap between the two of them had gradually widened. In terms of cultivation realm, Yun Ting was not too far behind Su Zimo. However, Yun Ting knew in his heart that the difference in combat strength between the two of them was like heaven and earth. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough. However, Su Zimo was way too terrifying. His 9 supreme divine powers were unprecedented and unparalleled, never before seen in history. After bidding farewell to everyone from the Sword World and settling everything, Su Zimo left for the Blood Ape realm. Su Zimo was not worried about Monkey's situation. He heard from the Sword World that the Blood Ape race would not look down on their tribesmen who ascended from the lower world. Given Monkey's talent, he should be able to do well in the Blood Ape realm. He traveled through the spatial tunnel continuously. Relying on his spirit perception, he avoided dangerous places like black holes in space. Along the way, he was more scared than hurt. More than 2 months later, a huge and dark spatial rift suddenly appeared in the starry sky. A black-haired, green-robed man walked out. He had a head full of black hair and looked travel-worn. However, his eyes were bright and spirited. The green-robed man stood in midair and looked into the distance. Endless mountain ranges coiled in the starry sky like dragons, forming a boundless continent that was extremely majestic and shocking. The mountain peaks towered above and ancient trees provided shade. Compared to the ancient trees and mountains, the surrounding stars seemed much smaller. Among them, the most obvious was a blood-colored mountain peak in the center of the mountain range. It was tall and steep, almost piercing through the firmaments. A single glance at the blood-colored mountain peak and the green-robed man felt a surge of battle intent surging towards him. "Blood Ape Realm," the green-robed man muttered softly. Chapter 2991. Who's there? The moment the green-robed man approached the Blood Ape world, 2 true spirit experts of the Blood Ape world appeared and blocked his path, hollering. The green-robed man smiled and cupped his fists. "I'm Su Zimo and I'm here to visit an old friend." Su Zimo did not intend to continue hiding after leaving Sword World and relinquishing his position as the Peak Master of 9th Sword Peak. Instead, he wanted to revert to his true name. On one hand, it was because his cultivation was growing and he had the strength to protect himself. On the other hand, it was also because of the strength of Wu Dao's true body. Old friend. The two blood ape true spirits frowned and sized up Su Zimo with a scrutinizing gaze. The green-robed man looked travel-worn and should have come from afar. True spirit experts would encounter many unexpected dangers if they traveled long distances through the cosmos. It could be said that they would most likely die. This human true spirit looked frail. To think that he would have such guts and methods. What's the name of your old friend? The blood ape true spirit on the left asked. I don't know, Su Zimo shook his head gently. The expressions of the two blood ape true spirits darkened. They thought that Su Zimo was toying with them and were about to fly into a rage. Su Zimo spoke once more. That old friend came from Tianhuang mainland in the lower world. When he was in the lower world, he did not have a name. Therefore, I'm not sure if he has a name after ascending. Tianhuang mainland? The blood ape true spirit on the right frowned slightly and whispered. Could it be senior brother Yuan Huang? That's possible, the one on the left replied. Master asked senior brother Yuan Huang, and he seemed to have mentioned that he came from some Tianhuang mainland. That's why he used that name. When the two blood ape true spirits saw that Su Zimo had a friendly expression and sounded sincere without any pretense, they let down their guard. Follow me, the blood ape true spirit on the left turned and led the way towards the blood-colored mountain peak while saying, the true spirit battle is being held in our race recently and senior brother Yuan Huang is also a popular candidate for the #1 true spirit. Su Zimo's eyes lit up. It seemed that not only was the monkey living a good life in the blood ape realm, but he was also successful in his cultivation. He actually had a chance of contending for the title of the #1 true spirit in the clan. May I know your name, fellow Taoist? Su Zimo asked. My name is Yuan An, the true spirit of the blood ape clan replied. The two of them sped along, and it didn't take long for them to arrive near the blood-colored mountain peak. As soon as he approached, Su Zimo heard the cries of sanguine apes reverberating between the numerous mountains and ancient trees. It was extremely lively. Su Zimo looked over and saw numerous blood apes gathered near the blood-colored mountain, and numerous figures stood on the ancient trees. They were densely packed and innumerable, causing it to be an unprecedentedly grand scene. From the looks of it, this true spirit battle was a rare event for the blood ape realm. At the foot of the mountain there were 10 huge stone platforms. On each platform, there were 2 blood apes fighting each other. There was even a gigantic empty ranking board pasted on the blood-colored mountain peak. Yuanan explained, those 10 stone platforms are the battle platforms of our race and that ranking board is the combat ranking. In every true spirit battle, only the top 10 clansmen will be able to leave their names on the combat ranking. Su Zimo nodded and scanned his surroundings, searching for traces of monkey. Senior brother Yuan Huang is over there. Yuanan pointed into the distance. Su Zimo looked over and could not help but chuckle. The blood ape in the distance was seated in a lotus position with his eyes closed. Although his side profile was facing them, Su Zimo recognized him immediately. That blood ape named Yuan Huang was none other than Monkey. After so many years, Monkey's body had changed tremendously. His body was clearly much taller and more muscular while his arms were longer and abnormally thick. Senior brother Yuan Huang just fought a huge battle and is recuperating. Don't disturb him for now. Yuanan did not continue to lead Su Zimo forward. Instead, he descended on the periphery and said in a low voice, the top 10 of the true spirit battle have been decided. There's still the final ranking battle. It won't be too late for you to visit him after the ranking battle. All right. Seeing that Monkey was fine, Su Zimo was not in a hurry to meet him. He could observe Monkey's abilities from the side. Su Zimo took a quick look. In this true spirit battle of the blood apes, apart from the many spectators and participating true spirits, there were also 6 kings presiding over the true spirit battle. Not long after, the battle for the top 10 began. Su Zimo noticed that 2 of the top 10 blood apes were only at the Kongming stage. Monkey was one of them. The remaining 8 were all at the Dongshu stage. Monkey was able to enter the combat ranking at the Kongming stage, and even had the chance to compete for the title of #1 true spirit. It seemed that he was indeed capable. Who's that? Su Zimo's gaze landed on one of the top 10 blood apes as he asked softly. That blood ape had a dark face and an unusually ferocious gaze. He was covered in thick fur and his blood chi was extremely vigorous. Even from afar, Su Zimo could sense the strength of his bloodline. The bloodline of that blood ape was clearly superior to the other 9 and was definitely Monkey's greatest opponent. When Yuanan heard Su Zimo asking about that person, he frowned instinctively and dodged his gaze. His expression was a little strange, as though he was fearful and disgusted at the same time. "He's Ma Xian." Yuanan replied. Su Zimo asked again. Why is his surname Ma? He could understand why the blood apes chose the surname Yuan. But where did the surname Ma come from? Yuanan pursed his lips slightly. His background is different. His status and bloodline are much nobler than ours. Naturally, we can't compare. Su Zimo could tell that there was a hidden meaning in Yuanan's words. Indeed, there were some blood apes gathered together in the surroundings and they looked different from Monkey, Yuanan and the other blood apes. The most obvious difference was that those blood apes had dark faces and were taller and stronger. Before he could continue asking, the battle on the fighting platform had already broken out. The 10 blood apes fought in pairs. Monkey was up against a Paradise Void Realm true spirit. Both parties clashed the moment the battle started and the melee combat was exceptionally intense. Although Monkey's cultivation realm was lower, he was not weak in melee combat. Furthermore, Monkey's battle intent was clearly suppressing the other party and he fought even more valiantly. Su Zimo nodded to himself. If nothing unexpected happened, Monkey should be the victor of this battle. Right at this moment, an unexpected event occurred abruptly on another combat arena. A blood ape was severely injured and defeated. It turned to flee from the fighting platform. However, the tall dark-faced blood ape caught up to him and smashed down with its cudgel, shattering the top of his head. His soul was scattered, and his body and Dao vanished. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat and he narrowed his gaze. That was way too ruthless. This time, it was completely aiming to kill. He had long heard that the blood apes were ferocious and belligerent. Could they be that ruthless against their own race as well? The victor was clearly decided earlier on and there was truly no need for them to be so ruthless. Or could there be other reasons behind this? Before Su Zimo could figure it out, the victor was decided on the other battlefield as well. To be precise, it was a life-and-death battle. Ma Xian pounded his chest and howled in excitement. Gripping his spear tightly with his other hand, he pierced the head of the blood ape opposite him and smashed it into pieces. The headless blood ape's corpse fell into a pool of blood and twitched unconsciously in a tragic manner. Chapter 2992. Su Zimo glanced sideways at Yuanan beside him. Yuanan's eyes flashed with rage towards the gruesome and bloody scene on the fighting platform. However, he did not say anything. It was the same for the rest of the sanguine apes. The sanguine apes seemed to be used to such a scene. Although they were furious, they did not reveal much fighting spirit. Even the 6 sanguine ape world kings presiding over did not stop them. Su Zimo noticed that among the 6 sanguine ape world kings, 2 of them were sanguine apes with dark faces and taller figures. Life and death are allowed in the true spirit battle of the sanguine apes? Su Zimo asked. Yuanan was silent for a moment before replying. In theory, there are no rules or restrictions. Life and death are allowed. It was clear that Yuanan did not finish his sentence. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, I think the 2 true spirits of the sanguine ape world who attacked earlier on seem to be different from you guys. They should have different bloodlines, right? This was an extremely common situation among the 10,000 races. For example, among the dragons, there were the horned dragon, blue dragon and illumination dragon. Although they were dragons, their bloodlines were completely different. Yuanan nodded and did not hide anything. Fellow Taoist, you're right. Those 2 guys earlier on belonged to the horse-monkey lineage. There are 4 lineages in the ape-monkey lineage. Right now, the 2 most common lineages in the sanguine ape world are the sanguine ape lineage and the horse-monkey lineage. Su Zimo nodded. However, although they were both of the horse-monkey lineage, Ma Xian on the fighting platform had a unique bloodline that was clearly superior to the other members of his race. As the 2 of them conversed, the outcome of the remaining 3 fighting platforms was decided as well. For the 3 true spirit battles, the 6 true spirits including Monkey, were all of the sanguine ape lineage. Although both sides fought fiercely, it did not escalate to a life-and-death battle. The moment the outcome was decided, they stopped immediately and walked down the fighting platform respectively. Seems like the sanguine ape lineage and the horse-monkey lineage have some grudges. Su Zimo pondered in deep thought. After the first round of battles ended, 5 people emerged victorious and Monkey was one of them. In the second round of the true spirit battle, the 5 contestants drew lots first, and there were a total of 5 tokens. The true spirits with the number 4 token and the number 5 token would battle first, and the winner would become the 4th seed. Then, number 1 against number 4, and number 2 against number 3. The drawing order came out quickly. Number 1 was Monkey, number 2 was Ma Xian, number 3 was Yuan Cheng, number 4 was Ma Xiao, and number 5 was Yuan Ci. Number 4 and number 5 were the two bloodlines from the Blood Ape realm. In the true spirit battle, Ma Xiao had killed another true spirit of the Blood Ape clan. Ma Xiao grinned at Yuan Ci and crooked his finger. Yuan Ci didn't utter a word. She carried her staff and stepped onto the fighting platform. A great battle instantly broke out. Those able to charge into the top 5 of the battle list were naturally not easy to deal with. Ma Xiao's attacks were fierce and aggressive. Yuan Ci was extremely calm. She was neither panicked nor anxious. She was on the defensive while attacking. Not a single drop of water leaked out. Both sides were in a stalemate for a long time. Ma Xiao's attacks gradually weakened, while Yuan Ci began to counterattack and gradually gained the upper hand. After fighting for a while more, Yuan Ci's bloodline surged and her aura suddenly soared. With a long howl, she broke through Ma Xiao's defenses and her metal staff went straight for the top of his head. If that staff hit, Ma Xiao's head would definitely be smashed into pieces and he would die on the spot. When Ma Xiao could not defend against it and was about to die on the spot, Yuan Ci's metal staff suddenly stopped hovering above Ma Xiao's head. Su Zimo frowned slightly. The relationship between the two lineages seemed to be different from what he had initially expected. If there was some sort of grudge between the two lineages, why would the Blood Ape lineage leave any leeway when the Horse Monkey lineage was so cold-blooded and had just killed a bloodline clansman? When he saw Yuan Ci stop on the fighting platform, Yuanan was not enraged. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief. The other members of the Blood Ape tribe were not surprised by this scene. Since it's life and death, what are the Blood Ape lineage worried about? Suddenly, Su Zimo asked. Yuanan was stunned, as though he had not expected that Su Zimo would notice the abnormality so quickly. He had a troubled expression and stuttered without saying anything. Right then, something happened on the battlefield. Initially, the outcome of this battle was already decided. However, just as Yuan Ci retracted his staff and was about to turn and leave, Ma Xiao suddenly attacked and released killing moves and secret skills consecutively. Yuan Ci was caught off guard and was heavily injured before she could even defend herself. However, Ma Xiao did not give him any chance to live and killed him with a single staff strike, destroying his essence spirit. This unforeseen event caused an uproar. The entire process took less than 2 to 3 breaths. By the time everyone reacted to it, Yuan Ci was already dead on the spot. What are you doing? Despicable and shameless. A series of curses burst forth from the Blood Apes and they were all agitated. Ha ha ha. Ma Xiao laughed arrogantly and pointed his staff at the many Blood Apes below, shouting, "Anyone who's indignant can come up and fight me." Although the Blood Apes were furious, none of them stepped forward when they heard that. Su Zimo looked at the 6 kings who were presiding over the true spirit battle high above. If none of the 6 kings stood up to uphold justice in such a situation, then the problem of the Blood Ape realm was more serious than he had imagined. Among the 6 kings, a Blood Ape king slowly stood up and gestured with his hands. He waited for the surrounding curses to die down before looking at the 2 Horse Monkey kings sitting beside him. The outcome of the battle just now was clearly decided. Yuan Ci showed mercy, but Ma Xiao ambushed him from behind and killed him. Isn't he too vicious? Ha ha. One of the Horse Monkey kings sneered. The outcome was already decided? Life and death are not determined on the battle stage. There is no such thing as victory or defeat. He was careless and was killed by someone else. He can't blame anyone else. The Blood Ape King's face flushed red with anger when he heard those words. Among the remaining 3 Blood Ape Kings, some were silent and some sighed. The last one reached out and pulled the Blood Ape King, persuading in a low voice, "Potian, forget it." The sky-breaking Ape King clenched his fists and didn't say a word. He still looked coldly at the 2 Horse Monkey Kings beside him. Su Zimo's divine sense moved. The sky-breaking Ape King's cultivation was at the greater success stage of the Grotto Heaven realm, while the 2 Horse Monkey Kings were only at the initial success stage. However, the sky-breaking Ape King and the other 3 Blood Ape Kings were clearly wary of the 2 Horse Monkey Kings. What? The Horse Monkey King's expression darkened when he saw the sky-breaking Ape King standing still and staring coldly at him. He slowly stood up and asked coldly, Do you want to overturn the heavens? Su Zimo's gaze moved and landed on a token at the Horse Monkey King's waist. His pupils constricted and flashed coldly. He narrowed his eyes and said, "By the will of the heavens." This medallion represented the origin of this Monkey King. The Sky-Offering World. Su Zimo didn't expect to meet someone from the Sky-Offering World in the Blood Ape realm, and a king at that. Perhaps there was more than one. Chapter 2993. You know about the Heavenly Order? Yuanan looked at Su Zimo in surprise. Su Zimo nodded and did not say anything. Yuanan revealed a sad expression and laughed mockingly. Since you know about the Heavenly Order, you should know that they belong to the Heavenly Order. Who dares to challenge them? Faced with the questioning of the Horse Monkey King, the heaven-breaking Ape King seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure. Gritting his teeth, he sat back down slowly. The sanguine apes gradually quietened down. The laughter from the Horse Monkey tribe was unusually ear-piercing. Su Zimo could clearly sense that the sanguine apes no longer had the spirit that they should have. Their willpower was low. Su Zimo asked, "Since the true spirit battle doesn't concern life and death, what's wrong with killing the other party?" "Pay with your life," Yuanan said. "Furthermore, it's not just the person who kills them that will pay with his life. His parents, brothers, children and anyone related to him will be implicated and buried with him. Let me ask you, under such circumstances, would you dare to kill the other party?" Su Zimo was silent. Yuanan clenched his fists slightly and became agitated. He said softly, "It's not that the sanguine apes don't have guts. It's just that we've been through way too much over the years. I told you earlier that the ape monkey tribe originally had 4 tribes. Among them, the stone monkey tribe went extinct at the end of the war era. The macaque tribe went extinct in the calamity of the sanguine apes in this era. What did our guts get us in the end?" The horse monkey tribe submitted and became the lackeys of the Heavenly Order. At least the sanguine apes didn't submit. Su Zimo sighed softly in his heart. He knew about the hardships and pressure the sanguine apes faced in the past. He also understood the choice they made. If they continued to resist, the sanguine apes would follow in the footsteps of the stone monkey and macaque tribes. As Yuanan said, it was already rare that the sanguine apes did not submit to the Heavenly Order. Furthermore, in this era, only the sanguine apes dared to question the Heavenly Order, and even went to the extent of clashing head-on. In the end, it led to the calamity of the sanguine apes that almost wiped out their tribe. Among the 3,000 in the upper realm, only the Blood Ape clan had the guts and courage to do so. However, under the pressure of the traitors and the celestial bestowment world, the bloodiness of the Blood Apes had gradually been wiped out. They no longer had the spirit to fight against the heavens. Yuanan gradually calmed down and realized that he had lost his composure. Only then did he say, "Fellow Taoist, I've made a fool of myself by saying so much." There was no contempt in Su Zimo's eyes. His expression was solemn as he cupped his hands in respect. The second round of the true spirit battle was not over yet. The remaining 4 people fought in pairs. Monkey number 1 fought against Ma Xiao, who had just killed the Blood Ape clan's true spirit. Number 2, Ma Xian, was fighting against number 3, the Blood Ape race's true spirit. Seeing this, Yuanan turned his head and said, "Senior brother Yuan Huang is quite lucky. He has a higher chance of winning against Ma Xiao. If I meet Ma Xian in this round, I'm afraid I'll be eliminated early." Su Zimo had long noticed that Ma Xian's qi and blood were clearly stronger than the other members of the Horseshoe Monkey clan. That Ma Xian's bloodline seems to be somewhat special. "What's his background?" Su Zimo asked. Yuanan looked at Su Zimo in surprise and praised, "Fellow Taoist, you have sharp eyes." Pausing for a moment, Yuanan said, "There's an extremely rare and supreme bloodline of the Horseshoe Monkey lineage known as the Redbone Horseshoe Monkey. The Redbone Horseshoe Monkey understands yin and yang, understands human affairs and is adept at entering and exiting, avoiding death and prolonging life. Ma Xian belongs to that bloodline." As the two of them conversed, the battle had already begun on the battle platform. Su Zimo pondered and asked again, "Since the Horseshoe Monkey lineage has such a supreme bloodline, do the other 3 lineages have it as well?" "Of course." Yuanan nodded. The supreme bloodline of the Stone Monkey lineage is known as the Intelligent Stone Monkey. It's capable of transformations, knows the weather and geography, and can shift the stars. The supreme bloodline of the macaque lineage is known as the six-eared macaque. It's adept at hearing and can discern reason, understanding everything. As for the supreme bloodline of the sanguine ape lineage, it's known as the long-armed blood ape. It can grasp the sun and moon, shrink the mountains, discern right and wrong, and manipulate the universe. At that point, Yuan turned to Monkey on the battle platform and hesitated. Actually, senior brother Yuan Huang has already awakened the long-armed blood ape. However what? Su Zimo asked. Yuan said regretfully, after the calamity of the sanguine ape, the horseshoe monkey lineage submitted to the heaven tribute world and controlled the sanguine ape world, forbidding us from leaving. With that, senior brother Yuan Huang is lacking in opportunities and has only awakened 10% to 20% of his bloodline. He's far from reaching the peak of the long-armed blood ape. As the two of them conversed, the outcome of the two battles on the battle platform was about to be decided. Ma Xian relied on the immense blood qi of the red-bone horseshoe monkey and did not use his full strength. He toyed with his opponent like a cat toying with a mouse and controlled the situation. On the other side, Monkey's cultivation realm was lower. However, he relied on a powerful secret skill to raise his combat strength to the level of a paradise void realm. Su Zimo had witnessed that secret skill personally before. Back when the true marshal's 10th heavenly tribulation descended on Wu Dao's true body, the Emperor of Combat released a similar method. According to Yuan's description, the long-armed blood ape could grab the sun and moon and shrink mountains. It was clear that it possessed immense strength and was most proficient in melee combat. Furthermore, Su Zimo could sense a strong will to battle from Monkey. It was unyielding and fearless. Against that aura, Ma Xiao was forced to retreat. Dang! Right then, as though he was unwilling to continue toying with his opponent, Ma Xian's blood qi surged and he waved his dagger axe, breaking through the defenses of the sanguine ape true spirit and piercing the other party's head. On the other side, the outcome was decided as well. After a series of head-on clashes, Ma Xiao's arms were numb and he could no longer grip his rod. He was sent flying by Monkey's rod. However, Monkey did not stop against the bare-handed Ma Xiao. A ferocious glint shone in his eyes as he swung his rod and smashed it towards Ma Xiao's head. Ma Xiao's expression changed. The aura and killing intent released by that rod was completely different from the previous situation. Not good, he wants to kill me. That thought flashed through Ma Xiao's mind and he was alarmed. Without time to think, he reached out instinctively and grabbed Monkey's rod. Bang! The rod smashed down and was gripped tightly by Ma Xiao's hands. Crack! Crack! The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Under the immense pain, Ma Xiao glared at Monkey with widened eyes and hollered, "How dare you kill me?" "That's right, I'm going to kill you." Monkey smirked and let go of the rod with a sinister gaze. He strode forward and bent his knees slightly, propping his hands in the air as though he was offering a fruit. Ma Xiao gripped Monkey's rod with both hands. He could not defend in time and could only retreat instinctively. However, Monkey was even faster. With a leap, he stood up and grabbed Ma Xiao's chin with both hands. Snap! Ma Xiao's head was flung back at a frightening angle and his cervical vertebra was snapped. Monkey had no intention of stopping and punched in reverse, smashing down towards Ma Xiao's face like a gigantic seal. Ma Xiao's reaction was extremely fast as well. Although his body was severely injured, his essence spirit broke out of his body and fled into the distance. Just as his essence spirit was about to escape Monkey's attack range, Monkey's arms suddenly expanded by dozens of feet and tore through the air. The gigantic seal descended from the skies and destroyed Ma Xiao's essence spirit. Chapter 2994. In a cave abode deep in the sanguine ape world, an old ape seemed to have sensed something and opened his eyes slowly. The old ape's fur was already white and his eyes were turbid. It was as though he could see through the layers of space and see the situation on the fighting platform. "How rare, how rare," the old ape murmured softly. "After the calamity of the sanguine ape, our clansmen's will to fight gradually dissipated and are no longer as strong as they were in the past. To think that I would be able to see a junior with such a fighting spirit. It's just a pity," the old ape sighed, feeling both pity and guilt. He knew clearly what consequences this junior was going to face, but he was powerless to change it. Even if he was the lord of a world. Not far away from the old ape, a sanguine ape emperor lord said, "The two horse monkey emperor lords are monitoring our every move under the will of the heavens. If we make a move, We'll definitely give them a handle. If the celestial tribute world invades en masse, all of us will die. Dojan, our sanguine ape world can't withstand a second calamity. When the old ape heard that, he waved it off. Don't call me Dojan anymore. I'm no longer worthy of that title. The reason why our clansmen are reduced to their current state is directly related to me lowering my head to the celestial tribute world back then. The sanguine ape emperor lord said, "We all know that you had no choice but to lower your head to the celestial tribute world back then because you wanted to protect the bloodline of our clansmen. If not for that, the sanguine ape world would have been gone. Furthermore, although we lowered our heads, we straightened our backs and did not submit. At the very least, we did not kneel down to the celestial tribute world and become their lackeys like the horse-monkey emperor lords." The old ape looked deeply at Monkey on the fighting platform and lamented, "What a great junior. It's been a long time since I felt such a fighting spirit sigh." Ma Xiao was dead. The vicinity of the blood-colored mountain peak was dead silent. Be it the sanguine ape or horse-monkey lineage, all of them looked at the figure on the fighting platform in disbelief with widened eyes and shocked expressions. Everyone knew the consequences of killing Ma Xiao. Monkey naturally knew as well. However, he still killed Ma Xiao. Upon seeing that, many sanguine ape clansmen felt their emotions that they had suppressed for a long time being released. They could sense a will that they had not felt in a long time from Monkey. It was a fearless, indomitable spirit that wanted to fight against the heavens. This kind of emotion quietly spread through the crowd. The eyes of many blood apes flashed with a bloody light. The battle intent in their bodies that they hadn't felt for a long time was gradually awakened. "How dare you! You're courting death." The horseshoe monkeys came to their senses and cursed loudly. "Ha ha ha ha!" Monkey reared his head in laughter and stood in a pool of blood on the fighting platform with his head held high. His eyes were bloodshot as he surveyed his surroundings with a prideful expression without any hint of regret or fear. The sound of a sharp blade slicing through the air was extremely ear-piercing. It was Ma Xian who had come to the fighting platform where the monkey was. Without even giving a greeting, he raised his dagger axe and stabbed it toward the monkey's chest. Humph! Monkey sensed danger and snorted coldly. He swung his long staff and deflected the incoming dagger axe before engaging in battle with Ma Xian. This battle was the final round of the true spirit battle. The outcome of the battle between the two was still unknown. Su Zimo was not in a position to intervene. Yuanan said softly, "Their cultivation realms are a level apart and their bloodlines are different as well. Senior brother Yuan Huang is bound to lose." Another blood ape sighed. "Senior brother Yuan Huang has no intention of living. Even if he can defeat Ma Xian, he'll pay with his life." On the fighting platform, Ma Xian no longer held back. His blood qi surged as he danced with his dagger axe, suppressing Monkey completely. However, Monkey relied on an indomitable battle intent to take on Ma Xian's ferocious attacks head-on. Instead, the more he fought, the braver he became, as though he had endless strength. A look of impatience flashed through Ma Xian's face. His blood qi surged once more and he released his bloodline phenomenon. A tall and burly figure of a horseshoe monkey appeared behind him and controlled a torrential current that drowned Monkey instantly. This was a complete suppression in terms of strength. Monkey could not defend against it in the end and was engulfed by the current, falling to the ground. Ma Xian took a step forward and stomped heavily on Monkey's chest. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. That stomp almost crushed Monkey's chest. "Aren't you arrogant?" Ma Xian stepped on Monkey with an arrogant expression and burst into laughter. Monkey was already exhausted and could not move at all under Ma Xian's stomp. Even so, the ferocious glint in his eyes did not diminish and there was no hint of submission. "Dog, how dare you kill my clansman? Do you submit?" Ma Xian exerted strength in his stomp and hollered once more. "F***ck your mother." Monkey cursed and spat at Ma Xian. Ma Xian tilted his head slightly and dodged it easily. Turning around, he looked at the many blood apes around him and asked with a menacing smile, "Why? I saw that you guys were eager to try earlier on. If there's anyone who's indignant, you can come up. I'll give you guys a chance." When the blood apes saw that, they felt immense pressure and their battle intent that had just been awakened was extinguished once more. Indeed, none of them were a match for Ma Xian. It was said that Ma Xian had already comprehended a supreme divine power, and they would only be courting death if they went forward. In fact, they might even implicate their kin and brothers. Ma Xian's gaze was sharp as he surveyed his surroundings. Many blood apes lowered their heads and avoided his gaze, not daring to meet his gaze. Ha ha ha. Ma Xian laughed with a disdainful expression and curled his lips. A bunch of cowards. Monkey sneered and said, no matter how weak the blood apes are, we have never bowed to the celestial worship world and become their lackeys. You're courting death. Ma Xian's face darkened. Even the two-horse monkey tribe immortal kings who were overseeing the situation frowned and their eyes turned cold. Monkey's words had really hit them where it hurt. So what if I die? What's there to be afraid of? Monkey laughed and said, I've killed one today. It's enough. Do you think that you're the only one who has to pay with your life for killing a member of the horse monkey tribe? Ma Xian said coldly, your parents, brothers, children, master, and all the clansmen who are related to you will die with you. Ha ha ha. Monkey laughed even more wildly when he heard that and said loudly, I came from the lower world and have no parents. After I ascended, I didn't have a master and I don't have any children or brothers. I'm the only one left. Kill me if you want. Ma Xian was stunned. Yuan seemed to have thought of something when he heard that and his body shook. He gradually clenched his fists and said, after senior brother Yuan Huang ascended, he didn't have a master or interact with anyone. He was extremely cold to everyone. I thought that he was a loner. So he was doing this for this day. The other blood apes gradually understood as well. After Monkey ascended and heard about what happened to his clansmen, he had long thought of this day. Exchanging a life for a life and not implicating his clansmen. Monkey was using his own choice and method to adhere to the Tao of battle in his heart. The four blood ape tribe immortal kings who were watching the battle sighed when they saw this scene. They couldn't bear to see it and turned their heads away. Some of the young blood ape clansmen were crying softly. Senior brother Yuan Huang. Yuan's eyes were red as he looked at the figure on the battle stage who was still cursing under Ma Xian's feet. His vision was blurry. At this moment, a soft murmur came from beside him. Monkey is indeed an orphan, but he still has a few sworn brothers. Yuan instinctively looked over and saw that the green-robed man who came with him had already walked forward. Chapter 2995. On the fighting platform. Ma Xian stepped on Monkey with a dark gaze and could not make up his mind for a moment. Against such a provocative sanguine ape, killing the latter casually would not be enough to vent his anger or intimidate the sanguine ape race. However, he could not find a suitable excuse to implicate others. Who said that he has no brothers? Suddenly, a voice sounded from the crowd. Ma Xian was delighted when he heard that and turned towards the voice hurriedly. When Monkey heard that voice, his eyes widened in disbelief and he turned his head with difficulty, wanting to see the person who spoke. A black-haired, green-robed man was exceptionally eye-catching among the many sanguine apes and was walking over. When Monkey caught sight of that person, his eyes reddened instantly and his breathing turned heavy. Instinctively, he opened his mouth, wanting to call out, Big Brother. However, he immediately realized something and swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. If he shouted, he would definitely implicate Su Zimo. Why was Big Brother here? What was he doing here? Monkey's mind was in a mess. Initially, he was rather calm because he was prepared to die. Now that he caught sight of Su Zimo, he was surprised, delighted and could not contain his excitement. When Ma Xian saw who it was, he frowned slightly. It was clear that this person did not belong to the sanguine ape realm and had an unknown background. However, he did not ask about the identity of the person. As long as the person could provide information about Yuan Huang's brothers, he could put aside the identity of the person for the time being. You said that he has brothers? Ma Xian looked at Su Zimo and asked in a deep voice. Su Zimo had already arrived before the fighting platform and nodded. From what I know, this monkey does not have any blood brothers. However, he has 6 sworn brothers. Ma Xian's eyes lit up. Judging from the way this person spoke with certainty and could even name the exact number of sworn brothers, he should not be spouting nonsense. Furthermore, Yuan Huang was beneath his feet. After this person appeared, Yuan Huang's emotions turned extremely agitated. It could be deduced that this person was not lying. Tell me, who are the 6 brothers and where are they? Ma Xian waved his hand with a smile. As long as you can tell me, feel free to ask for any treasure you want. Ma Xian was thinking about something else. After this person spoke, This person would be of no use to him, so he could just kill him. Su Zimo said indifferently, "The other 5 brothers are not in the Blood Ape realm, only one is here." "Who?" Ma Xian asked. "Me," Su Zimo replied. Ma Xian was stunned. The surrounding Blood Ape tribe and Horse Monkey tribe were also dumbfounded. Yuan En, who had brought Su Zimo here, was even more confused when he heard this. He knew that Su Zimo was here to look for his senior brother Yuan Huang, but he didn't know that they were sworn brothers. Moreover, even if the 2 of them were sworn brothers, wouldn't it be suicide to stand out in this situation? "You." Ma Xian sized up Su Zimo and his face gradually darkened. He narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Are you playing with me?" He also couldn't believe that someone would actually jump out and seek their own death. "Aren't you looking for his brother?" Su Zimo leaped onto the battle platform and pointed to Monkey beneath Ma Xian's feet with a calm expression. "I'm his big brother." Ma Xian frowned, unable to figure out Su Zimo's intentions. After Su Zimo got onto the battle platform, he no longer looked at Ma Xian. Instead, he looked at Monkey and scolded jokingly, "Monkey, you don't even acknowledge me as your big brother after ascending?" At that point, Monkey knew that Su Zimo had already made up his mind and could not hide it any longer. In his agitation, he could not help but shout, "Big brother." Ma Xian was finally certain when he heard Monkey's shout. "Good, good, good." Ma Xian clapped and mocked with a smile. "You're a good big brother. You're rather loyal to your friends and took the initiative to stand out. Your courage is commendable." The many Horse Monkey tribe members below roared with laughter. "You don't recognize me?" Su Zimo turned and looked at Ma Xian with raised brows. "Ha ha ha." Ma Xian was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter as though he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "What's your name? Tell us how famous you are." The many Horse Monkey tribe members below cheered as well. Su Zimo initially thought that after he appeared, there would definitely be people from the Blood Ape world who would recognize him. After all, the true spirit experts and kings of the 3,000 worlds were gathered in the celestial tribute world back then. In the Fiend battlefield, he killed more than 20 supreme true spirits single-handedly and became famous in a single battle, shocking the upper worlds. However, given the current situation, it was clear that no one recognized him. No wonder, instantly, Su Zimo understood what was going on. Back then, there were no true spirits of the Blood Ape world in the celestial tribute world. The Horse Monkey lineage had always stayed in the Blood Ape world to monitor the Blood Ape race and did not head to the Celestial Tribute world to enter the Fiend battlefield. Naturally, no one had seen Su Zimo before. "My name is Su Zimo." Su Zimo smiled as well. "Wah!" Ma Xian pretended to exaggerate and exclaimed, "What a resounding name." Thereafter, he surveyed the surroundings and asked loudly, "This person is called Su Zimo. Has anyone heard of him before?" Even the Blood Ape lineage exchanged glances, let alone the Horse Monkey lineage. The 6 kings sitting high up in the sky looked at each other. They were all at a loss. That name was indeed unfamiliar. Even with their knowledge, they had not heard of it before, let alone the other members of their race. "Fufu." Ma Xian looked around and sneered. "What a pity that no one has heard of your name." Pausing for a moment, Ma Xian retracted his smile and glared at Su Zimo with killing intent. "Also, you might not have understood the situation. To put it simply, you're going to die." Before he finished, Ma Xian suddenly waved his dagger axe and stabbed towards Su Zimo's face at an extremely fast speed. Pyak! Just as the dagger axe was about to pierce Su Zimo's face, Su Zimo suddenly reached out and grabbed the dagger axe. Instinctively, Ma Xian wanted to twist his dagger axe and crush Su Zimo's palm. However, he realized that his destiny numinous treasure was in Su Zimo's hands and could not move at all. Snap! Before he could react, he heard a crisp sound beside his ear. Su Zimo's palm suddenly exerted strength and snapped his destiny numinous treasure. That dagger axe was a pure yang numinous treasure of the 9 tribulations. But now, it was snapped into 2 by this seemingly frail man barehanded. Ma Xian's expression changed starkly. Su Zimo tossed in reverse and the broken dagger axe in his hand shot out. Limitless yin yang. Ma Xian's reaction was extremely fast as he channeled his bloodline and released a supreme divine power. The Redbone Horse Monkey lineage had a saying that they understood yin and yang and were innately close to yin and yang Dao techniques. Su Zimo did not dodge or evade. His left eye was pitch black and his right eye was pure white as he devoured the power of yin and yang in a frenzy. With the two divine stones, illumination and nether glow in his eyes, Su Zimo dispelled the limitless yin-yang into nothingness. When he saw that, Ma Xian was scared out of his wits with a horrified expression. He had never seen such ghostly methods before. Poof! After the limitless yin-yang was dispelled, the broken dagger axe penetrated his chest instantly. Fresh blood spewed out. A tremendous force sent his body flying. All of a sudden, a huge shadow shrouded over. It was the figure of the green-robed man. Su Zimo was even faster and caught up in half a step. With a momentum that could plow the heavens, he stomped heavily on Ma Xian's face. With a single kick, Ma Xian's head exploded into pieces and his essence spirit was destroyed. Chapter 2996. Ma Xian's tragic death caused an uproar. No matter what, Ma Xian had the bloodline of the red-bone horse monkey and had comprehended a supreme ability. He was a true supreme spirit. But against Su Zimo, Ma Xian could not resist at all and was killed almost instantly. The entire process was too fast. By the time the 6 Blood Ape Realm Kings reacted, Ma Xian was already dead on the spot. If the people present knew Su Zimo's background, they would not be surprised. Why did Ma Xian die so easily? After the battle on the Fiend battlefield, Su Zimo was already recognized as the #1 true spirit in the 3,000 worlds. More than 20 supreme true spirits were all killed by him alone. After so many years, Su Zimo's combat strength had improved. To him, killing a supreme true spirit like Ma Xian was no different from killing a chicken. What was even more unexpected was that this seemingly frail and delicate-looking outsider would dare to kill a true spirit of the Blood Ape realm in front of everyone from the Blood Ape realm. Yuan An, who had brought Su Zimo here, was shocked as he murmured, "Who did I bring with me?" No matter what his background is, he can't leave the Blood Ape realm after killing Ma Xian. He probably doesn't know that behind Ma Xian is the celestial tribute world, a terrifying force that transcends the world and surpasses the upper worlds. The ignorant are fearless. Seeing Ma Xian die, the Blood Apes felt relieved. But they also knew that the green-robed man on the battle platform had caused a disaster. They felt pity and lamented. Notwithstanding the 2 macaque kings that were overseeing the area, just the murderous gazes of the macaque race alone were enough to rip this green-robed cultivator to shreds. Su Zimo naturally knew that once he attacked, he would definitely become enemies with the celestial tribute world. He also knew the consequences of becoming enemies with the celestial tribute world. But seeing the monkeys in trouble, he had no other choice. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if the celestial realm mobilized a large force to deal with him, it was not as if he did not have the strength to fight. In the great wasteland world, Wu Dao's true body was already fighting with the heavenly court behind the celestial tribute world. So what if he offended the celestial tribute world? Even if Wu Dao's original body couldn't escape, he could still escape with the monkey and head to the inheritance ground of the 9 underworlds to lay low. Long before he made his move, he had already gone through all the consequences and possible scenarios in his mind. "How dare you!" The 2 monkey kings were enraged. They slammed the table and stood up, staring at Su Zimo as they shouted, "Please calm down." The heaven-breaking ape king stood up quickly as well. He stopped the 2 monkey kings and said in a deep voice, "Ask him about his background first." When the 2 monkey kings heard this, their lungs were about to explode from anger. One of them glared at the heaven-piercing ape king and said through gritted teeth, "I don't care where he came from. He killed Ma Xian, so he has to pay with his life." The heaven-breaking ape king's actions seemed like he was trying to calm the 2 monkey kings down, but he was actually trying to stop them and give Su Zimo a chance to escape. He couldn't help Su Zimo on the surface. However, he did not want to stand on the side of the horse-monkey lineage either. The other monkey king seemed to have realized something, and turned to look at the heaven-breaking ape king with narrowed eyes. "Why? You want to help this outsider?" With Su Zimo's support, Monkey had already stood up. When he saw that the 2 monkey kings were about to make a move, he could not help but burst into laughter. "That's all you monkeys are capable of? To think that you need kings to deal with a true spirit." The horse-monkey true spirits below could no longer hold themselves back and roared when they heard that. "There's no need for the 2 monkey kings to attack. We'll take revenge for senior brother Ma Xian and eat his flesh and drink his blood. How dare an outsider behave atrociously in the Blood Ape world and kill our tribesmen? Tear him apart alive." AWOO. AWOO. Thousands of horse monkeys charged towards the battle platform, causing dust to billow. Hundreds of true spirits of the horse monkey lineage channeled their blood chi and charged towards Xueqi and Monkey with menacing expressions. Instantly, the ground quaked and the weather changed. When the sanguine apes saw that, they were secretly speechless and could not bear to watch. With so many horse monkeys swarming forward, they did not even need to release their mystic skills. Their brute strength alone was enough to tear Xueqi and Monkey into pieces. Monkey clutched the wound on his chest and leaned on his rod, leaning back against Xueqi. Looking at the overwhelming number of figures around him, there was no fear on his face as he grinned. "Bro, we can fight side by side again." At that moment, many images of Tsonglang mountain range flashed through Monkey's mind. At that time, it was also the two of them who fought side by side against the endless amount of ash wolves. They supported each other and escaped from the jaws of death. The only difference was that this time round, they could not escape. Xueqi did not know what Monkey was thinking. He glanced at the horseshoe monkeys that were surging with killing intent and shook his head slightly. He smiled and said, "A bunch of true spirits want to kill me?" Back in the celestial tribute world, what kind of experts did he fight? In the fiend battlefield, the strongest true spirits of the 3,000 worlds and the true spirits of the 10 sinners were gathered. Even with such a terrifying formation, Xueqi was able to crush them with countless casualties. Right now, the hundreds of horse monkeys did not even have a supreme true spirit. Coupled with the earth and heavenly essence horse monkeys, he did not care about them at all. "You guys know nothing about my strength," Xueqi murmured with a calm expression. Activating his essence spirit, he pointed at the void and said indifferently, 6 paths of reincarnation." Before he finished his sentence, a gigantic abyss vortex appeared where his fingertip touched. It spread rapidly and filled the entire world. The world spun and space-time was in chaos. Bloodlines, mystic skills and divine weapons were all forcefully pulled into the cycle of reincarnation. Even the horse monkeys that charged forward were devoured by the abyss vortex amidst their struggles and roars. Their true spirits were destroyed. Neither the heavenly being true spirits nor the Dongshu true spirits could withstand the power of reincarnation. Back in the fiend battlefield, Xueqi was only at the Kongming stage. When he released the 6 paths of reincarnation, even the first true spirit, Xiayin, could not withstand it. Now that Xueqi had reached the peak of the Dongshu stage, the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation was even stronger than before. The horse monkeys charged forward like moths to a flame. All the blood apes present were dumbfounded by this scene. They were scared silly and their minds went blank. This kind of power was released by a true spirit expert? Tens of thousands of horse monkeys charged forward, but they could not even touch the corner of the green-robed cultivator's robe, let alone tear him apart. Large numbers of horse monkeys were devoured by the 6 paths of reincarnation and buried in it. This scene was too terrifying. Even the eyes of the sky-breaking ape king and the other blood ape kings twitched as their facial muscles twitched uncontrollably. Even if they attacked, they might not be able to cause such terrifying damage. Chapter 2997. Ever since the calamity of the sanguine ape world suffered a great loss and was no longer as strong as it was in the past. The betrayal of the horse monkey lineage caused the sanguine ape world situation to worsen. All these years, the sanguine ape lineage had been suppressed because they had too many reservations. Even in the battle arena, they did not dare to kill a single horse monkey. But now, apart from the fact that an outsider like Xueqi had killed the supreme true spirits of the horse monkey lineage, the supreme divine powers he released were like the scythe of the grim reaper that reaped the lives of the horse monkey lineage wantonly. It was not just 1 or 2 deaths. They were dying in droves. While the sanguine apes were shocked, they felt an indescribable joy in their hearts. Good kill. Those spineless cowards. We should have killed them long ago. Many sanguine apes hollered excitedly. To the sanguine apes, Xueqi was an outsider, and even if the horse monkey lineage wanted revenge, they could not take it out on them. The heaven-breaking ape king revealed a worried expression. Initially, Xueqi had a chance to escape. But now that he had killed so many horse monkeys, the 2 horse monkey kings beside him would definitely kill him. How dare you! The 2 horse monkey kings were enraged as they roared and released 2 grotto heavens to suppress the 6 paths of reincarnation in the void. Boom! 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 The two grotto heavens suppressed the 6 paths of reincarnation consecutively before they managed to defeat it and rescue some horse monkeys. As for the hundreds of horse monkey true spirits that charged at the front, they were almost completely wiped out. Su Zimo's 6 paths of reincarnation had killed all the horse monkey lineage's true spirits. At the very least, it would be difficult for any true spirit experts to rise from the horse monkey lineage for the next 100,000 years. When the heaven-breaking ape king saw the 2 horse monkey kings attack, he could not bear to see Su Zimo die here. After pondering for a moment, he took a deep breath of air and stood in front of the 2 horse monkey kings, saying in a deep voice, "Please calm down. This person is so arrogant and fearless. I'm afraid his background, scram." How could the 2 monkey kings listen to this? They roared angrily at the heaven-breaking ape king. The heaven-breaking ape king took advantage of the delay and hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo. "Young friend, you have to leave now before it's too late." A monkey king stared at the ape king with a dark expression and said, "Patian, why are you protecting this person? Could it be that you ordered him to do this?" This crime was too serious. The heaven-piercing ape king couldn't bear it at all. If the sky-piercing ape king continued to obstruct the 2 of them, he would definitely draw trouble to himself. Apart from him, who knew how many clansmen of the Blood Ape clan would suffer because of this? "Patian, come back." The remaining 3 Blood Ape kings hurriedly went up and dragged the heaven-piercing ape king back. The 2 monkey kings did not want to waste their energy on the sky-breaking ape king. Their first target was the green-robed cultivator below. The heaven-piercing ape king glanced back and saw that Su Zimo still hadn't left. He couldn't help but shake his head. That person's combat strength is indeed terrifying. However, his reaction is a little slow and there's even less chance for him to escape now. Just as the heaven-piercing ape king lamented, the green-robed cultivator on the battle platform did not leave. Instead, he charged towards the 2 monkey kings. The heaven-piercing ape king was stunned. What was this person trying to do? Was he trying to die because he knew that he couldn't escape? "Die, you ant!" The 2 monkey kings were even more enraged when they saw Su Zimo charging towards them. They could not help but holler and release their own grotto heavens to suppress him. "You guys are not strong enough to kill me." Su Zimo's eyes shone brightly as he released his innate mystic power, the 8 Fangs divine power, to raise his strength while channeling his essence spirit at the same time. Boom! The void behind Su Zimo collapsed and a faintly discernible grotto heaven appeared. The sun and moon hung in the grotto heaven while light and darkness coexisted. Day and night alternated and yin and yang fused together. Although it was only a phantom of a grotto heaven, the power it released was not weaker than the 2 monkey kings' grotto heavens. A phantom of a grotto heaven possesses such power? The 2 monkey kings' hearts skipped a beat. No matter what, they were 2 monkey kings that joined forces to form 2 grotto heavens. They were still able to gain the upper hand. Boom! Before the 2 of them could react, the void behind Su Zimo collapsed once more and a gigantic tomb appeared. It was filled with a deathly aura and was filled with graves as though it wanted to bury everything. Every single grave had a sword stabbed into it. Within the deathly aura of the tomb was a sharp sword intent that could tear through everything. What's this? The 2 monkey kings widened their eyes. Another phantom of a grotto heaven? Even a supreme monkey king like the heaven-piercing ape king shuddered in disbelief, let alone 2 ordinary monkey kings like them. Su Zimo was only a true spirit? What sort of methods were those? After leaving the day and night land and entering seclusion in the flower world, Wu Dao's true body discussed the Dao with Dai Yu. The 2 true bodies were connected mentally, and with the help of the spirit potency art, Qinglian's true body had also benefited greatly. This Daluo sword tomb was the second phantom of a grotto heaven that Qinglian's true body had comprehended while in seclusion in the flower world. The phantom of a grotto heaven wasn't anything impressive. Half-step kings could control the phantom of a grotto heaven. However, the phantom of a half-step king only contained a wisp of grotto heaven power and couldn't fight against a real grotto heaven. None of the kings present had heard of a phantom of a grotto heaven that could fight against a real grotto heaven like Su Zimo. The 2 grotto heaven phantoms that Su Zimo had cultivated were simply too terrifying. There was no need to talk about the yin-yang grotto heaven. It contained the yin-yang talisman scriptures Dao, the candle illumination, and the dark fluorescent divine stone. And the Daluo sword tomb contained the essence of 2 forbidden manuals, the Daluo sword manual and the heaven-burying scripture. Rumble! When the Daluo sword tomb descended, the 2 horse monkey kings' grotto heavens couldn't hold on and were on the verge of collapse. The two-horse Monkey King's Grotto Heavens had consumed a lot of power to destroy Su Zimo's 6 paths of reincarnation. Now that Su Zimo had brought out the phantom of the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven and the Daluo Sword Tomb, the two-horse Monkey Kings couldn't resist at all. After holding on for a few breaths, the two-horse Monkey King's Grotto Heavens completely collapsed. The two-horse Monkey Kings were shocked and didn't dare to continue fighting with Su Zimo. They turned around and fled. But without the protection of their Grotto Heavens, the two-horse Monkey Kings couldn't resist the power of the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven and the Daluo Sword Tomb. The Yin Yang Grotto Heaven spun and emitted a powerful suction force that slowly dragged one of the horse Monkey Kings into it. On the other side, the Daluo Sword Tomb descended. The soil that contained a deathly aura churned and instantly wrapped around one of the horse Monkey Kings and buried him, forming a grave that was half the height of a person. The grave trembled. The horse Monkey King was still struggling inside, trying to escape. At this moment, the phantom of a huge sword descended from the sky and landed on the grave. Splurt! Blood gushed out of the grave and dyed the soil red. There was no sound inside. The phantom of the huge sword was like a tombstone that was stabbed into the soil. The Daluo Sword Tomb didn't change much. It was just that there was an inconspicuous grave inside. It was the grave of a king. End of this chapter. Chapter 2998. Even the king of the horseshoe monkeys had been killed. More importantly, this horseshoe monkey king had the heavenly token and was the king of the heavenly token. No matter how many horseshoe monkeys Su Zimo had killed, they didn't have the heavenly token and weren't part of the heavenly token. But now, killing these two horseshoe monkey kings was tantamount to starting a direct conflict with the heavenly token. In the eyes of the ape king and the others, Su Zimo wasn't just causing a huge disaster, but directly piercing through the sky. What is Yuan Huang's sworn brother's background? He's just a true spirit, but he's able to cross a major realm and kill a king. This kid probably doesn't know the background of these two horseshoe monkey kings. That's why he was so ruthless. No matter what his background is, he won't be able to escape the Blood Ape realm. That's right. The Red Sea Monkey King must have sensed Ma Xian's death and probably already came out of seclusion. Not to mention, a horseshoe monkey king died. The 4 Blood Ape Kings communicated with their divine wills. The battle wasn't over yet. The Daluo Sword Tomb buried one horseshoe monkey king, while the other horseshoe monkey king used all his trump cards and secret techniques to struggle against the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven. But even after using all his methods, he could only delay for a moment. He couldn't stop the Yin Yang power at all. More than half of this horseshoe monkey king's body was devoured by the Yin Yang Grotto Heaven. Seeing that he was about to die, he took the heavenly token from his waist. This horseshoe monkey king raised the heavenly token and reached out of the Grotto Heaven with a terrified expression. I am the king of the heavenly token. Even the king of the heavenly token must die. Su Zimo shouted and had no intention of stopping. He activated his primordial spirit and the power of Yin and Yang erupted, instantly killing this horseshoe monkey king. This horseshoe monkey king wanted to use the heavenly token to suppress Su Zimo and save his life before plotting revenge. He didn't expect Su Zimo to be so fearless after hearing about the heavenly token. Since he decided to attack, he naturally wouldn't show mercy. Even if he spared the horseshoe monkey king, he wouldn't let him go after it escaped. Even the 4 kings of the Blood Ape clan were shocked. This brat knows that the other party is from the celestial tribute world, yet he still dares to kill? He looks so young. Even if he has heard of the celestial tribute realm, he probably doesn't know how terrifying it is. What should we do? Are we just going to watch him kill, or? The 4 kings of the Blood Ape clan communicated with their divine wills and hesitated. Naturally, they didn't want to be enemies with Su Zimo. However, if they allowed Su Zimo to go on a killing spree in front of everyone, it would be difficult for them to explain themselves when the macaque lineage pursued the matter. Roar! At this moment, a furious roar came from behind the bloody mountain. The Red Sea Monkey King has come out of seclusion. The sky-breaking ape king's heart skipped a beat when he heard the howl. This Red Sea Monkey King was a peak king, Ma Xian's father. He was also a red bottomless horse monkey, but his body and bloodline were far superior to his son's. Amongst the kings of the Blood Ape realm, this Crimson Sea Monkey King's combat strength was ranked number 1. The sky-breaking ape king looked at Su Zimo, who wasn't far away, and said with a sigh, I tried to persuade you to leave, but you didn't. Now it's too late to leave. No matter how fast a true spirit movement technique was, it couldn't escape the pursuit of a king. A grotto heaven king could tear through the void and escape into a spatial tunnel. In the sky-breaking ape king's eyes, even if Zimo escaped now, he would be caught by the Red Sea Monkey King before he could leave the Blood Ape realm. Zimo's expression was calm. He nodded slightly at the sky-breaking ape king before releasing a secret art. His left eye glowed, and his right eye shone with a black and white divine light. They formed a yin-yang twin fish diagram that spun continuously. Zimo took out the Tai horsetail whisk. With the jade handle as the shaft, the silver thread as the hair, and the true yuan as the ink, he wrote a few strange runes on the yin-yang twin fish diagram. Then, he threw the Tai horsetail whisk into the black and white boundary of the yin-yang twin fish diagram. It merged perfectly with the diagram and disappeared. The void cracked open, and a spatial tunnel appeared. Tai yin-yang escape. Zimo grabbed the monkey and was about to step into the spatial tunnel to leave the Blood Ape realm. Wait! At that moment, a Blood Ape King frowned and shouted, "Leave Yuan Huang behind." This Blood Ape King didn't have any ill intentions. However, in his eyes, Zimo had already offended the celestial tribute world. If he followed him, the monkey would most likely die. Therefore, his first reaction was to ask Zimo to leave the monkey behind. Zimo stood at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. He paused and glanced sideways. "Can you protect him?" The Blood Ape King fell silent and lowered his head. If today's matter was investigated, the monkey would definitely die if he stayed in the Blood Ape realm. They didn't even dare to kill a horse monkey true spirit, let alone protect the monkey's life. "Go!" The sky-piercing Ape King urged with his divine sense. At the same time, he charged towards Zimo and shouted, "Where do you think you're going?" Although the sky-piercing Ape King charged over, he didn't actually use any techniques. He was just putting on an act. Zimo didn't stay any longer. He brought the monkey into the spatial tunnel and disappeared. Not long after he left, the void above the battle stage cracked open. A horse monkey king with a thick bloody aura walked out and looked around with a malicious gaze. It was the Red Sea Monkey King. What happened? The Red Sea Monkey King looked at the corpses and rivers of blood around him. Moreover, they were all from the horse monkey bloodline. His face couldn't help but turn gloomy. The horse monkey race's losses were too great. After seeing Ma Xian's corpse on the battle stage, the Red Sea Monkey King's bloody aura became even stronger. His expression was cold, and his aura became much more violent. He slowly asked, "Who did this?" Some of the horseshoe monkeys who were lucky enough to survive hurriedly ran over, and recounted the scene that had just happened in detail. "Yuan Huang, Zimo." The Red Sea Monkey King narrowed his eyes and murmured. Then he glanced at the sky-piercing Ape King and the other three Beast Kings and said coldly, "The four of you just stood by and watched, allowing an outsider to slaughter our horse-monkey race. In my opinion, this Zimo or whatever was brought here by you. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext." The sky-piercing Ape King sneered and said, "The entire process happened too quickly. Those two Beast Kings were killed before they could even last a single round. Moreover, that Zimo wanted to escape. We even tried to stop him, but we couldn't." Although the Red Sea Monkey King didn't see it with his own eyes, he could guess that the sky-piercing Ape King and the others wouldn't try their best to stop him. "Whether you want to condemn someone or not, I'll find out after I capture those two bastards and search their souls." The Red Sea Monkey King sneered and said, "If this has anything to do with you, I'll bury 10 times, no, 100 times your blood apes." Chapter 2999. Hearing the Red Sea Monkey King's threat, the sky-breaking Ape King sneered inwardly, but his expression did not change. Zimo had nothing to do with the Blood Ape race. Even if he did, that person had already escaped into the spatial tunnel. Even if the Red Sea Monkey King chased after him, he would not be able to catch up. Roar! The Red Sea Monkey King roared at the sky, summoning all the Horse Monkey Kings to gather here. Many Horse Monkey Kings came out of seclusion. Soon, 17 Horse Monkey Kings arrived. Apart from the Red Sea Monkey King, there were 2 other peak-tier kings. The sky-breaking Ape King looked on coldly. The cosmos was vast and boundless. It was possible for Zimo to escape in any direction. But in the universe, even the slightest deviation would cause the gap between them to widen. Even if the Red Sea Monkey King gathered 180 kings, it would still be hard for them to catch up to Xueqi, let alone 18 kings. The Red Sea Monkey King gave a simple description of what had just happened. When the 17-horse Monkey Kings saw what had happened, their faces turned green. They were furious and filled with killing intent. Red Sea, those two have already escaped for a long time. How do we chase after them? A horse Monkey King frowned. The universe is vast. If we scatter and search, it will be like searching for a needle in a haystack. The Red Sea Monkey King said, "Everyone, don't worry. If you follow me, we will be able to catch up to those two ants." Although that brat has already escaped, the escape technique he used involves yin and yang. There will be traces of yin and yang left behind in this place. Traces of yin and yang. The other horse Monkey Kings frowned. They naturally could not see any traces of yin and yang with their divine senses. The sky-breaking Ape King also revealed a confused expression. But soon, he realized that something was wrong. The Red Sea Monkey King had already awakened the complete red-bone horse monkey bloodline. It was said that it understood yin and yang, understood human affairs, and avoided death. Others might not be able to see any traces of yin and yang, but it could not escape the Red Sea Monkey King's eyes. At this moment, the Red Sea Monkey King's eyes started to change. His left eye turned black and his right eye white. It turned into a pair of yin and yang eyes that could see through the void and capture traces of yin and yang. "Everyone, follow me," the Red Sea Monkey King said in a deep voice. The sky-breaking Ape King's eyes flickered. Just as he was about to step forward, a Blood Ape King stopped him and shook his head. "Patian, we can't do anything about this," the Blood Ape King said telepathically. The Heaven-breaking Ape King frowned and said, "If Chi Hai and the others chase after them, Yuan Huang and Yuan Huang will definitely die. Are we just going to sit by and do nothing? That Xueqi's identity and background are unknown. Let's not act rashly," another Blood Ape King said. The Heaven-piercing Ape King said, "Even so, that Xueqi did help us vent our anger, and Yuan Huang is also one of our clansmen. Patian, you have to understand that Xueqi killed the king of the celestial tribute world. He's already committed a heinous crime." The first Blood Ape King said in a serious tone, "If we interfere, we'll definitely be used against us. Chi Hai and the others will definitely use this chance to accuse us of being sinners. When that time comes, we'll probably be locked up in the War Sin Land and never see the light of day again." The other Blood Ape King said, "Back then, the Sector Lord suffered great humiliation and bowed to the celestial tribute world in order to protect us. We can't let him down." The sky-breaking Ape King clenched his fists and didn't say a word. He slowly lowered his head. Deep within the Blood Ape world, an old ape slowly stood up. A hint of hesitation flashed through his muddy eyes. "Sector Lord." The Blood Ape King below him realized what the old ape was thinking and hurriedly said with his divine sense, "Don't be rash." Just as the old ape was about to move, he suddenly sensed two powerful divine consciousness pressures enveloping him. The old ape closed his eyes and stood still for a long time. Finally, he sighed and sat back down. "Those two juniors. What a pity," the old ape said in his heart. Xueqi led Monkey through the dimensional tunnel and changed direction multiple times. They only stopped after 3 days. The two of them chatted a lot during the 3 days. Both of them talked about their experiences after ascending. Xueqi talked about the tiger, Qing Qing, the golden lion, Little Fox and the others. He also mentioned the night spirit. However, ever since he received some news about the night spirit in the celestial tribute world, there was no news. There was no other reason for him to stop temporarily, other than the fact that the monkey's injuries were very serious. Monkey's bloodline was only in its initial awakening. Coupled with the fact that Ma Xian was extremely heavy-handed, Monkey's bloodline and elixirs did not show any signs of recovery for the past 3 days. After all, his physique did not have the recovery capabilities of a rank 12 creation like Qinglian. Monkey was excited to be reunited with Xueqi but was unwilling to rest. Instead, Monkey's condition worsened over the past 3 days. Monkey's injuries could not be dragged on any longer. Furthermore, the two of them were already far away from the Blood Ape world and should be out of danger. Xueqi found a lifeless star nearby and landed there. He opened up a cave abode to treat Monkey's injuries. Although Monkey's injuries were severe, they were not troublesome for Xueqi. Making use of the Qinglian bloodline, Xueqi released his lotus finger and sent streams of rich and pure life force into Monkey's body. Monkey's injuries healed gradually at a faster speed. Around the ghastly bloody hole in his chest, tender granulation was also growing crazily, entangling and connecting together. At this rate, Monkey would be able to recover more or less in less than a day. Monkey recuperated in the cave abode while Su Zimo guarded at the side and rested with his eyes closed. About 4 hours later, Su Zimo sensed something and suddenly opened his eyes, frowning. Just a moment ago, a sense of danger suddenly rose in his heart, but it quickly disappeared. It was like a sudden impulse, or maybe it was just an illusion. At his cultivation realm, a sense of danger as such would definitely not appear out of nowhere, especially with the help of his spirit perception. Monkey's injuries had yet to recover. Su Zimo pondered for a moment before waking Monkey up and sending a voice transmission. "We can't stay here for long. Let's leave immediately." When Monkey saw Su Zimo's grim expression, it realized that something was wrong and bounced up from the ground. After the two of them left the cave abode, Su Zimo raised his head and his pupils constricted slightly. According to his senses, there were at least 10 kings hiding around this star. Su Zimo channeled his spirit consciousness and released the phantom of the Yin-Yang paradise, preparing to tear through the void and escape with Monkey. "How dare you think of escaping, you two little beasts?" Suddenly, a roar reverberated through the world. Immediately after, a huge hand covered in long hair descended from the sky, emitting a destructive aura that enveloped the two of them. Chapter 3000. Rumble. The hairy hand exploded with a suffocating aura. It was thick and vigorous, and before it truly descended, the mountain range beside Su Zimo had already begun to collapse. The huge star beneath their feet began to tremble continuously, and huge cracks appeared on the ground. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. The place where the two of them were slowly collapsing, and a huge 5-fingered palm print appeared. Too strong. This power could even destroy this star. It had completely exceeded the range that Su Zimo could withstand. The person who attacked was definitely a pinnacle king, even stronger than the Earth Rock King he had killed before. After all, the Earth Rock King was a king past his prime, and the one who attacked was clearly in his prime. Outside the Day-Night Land, Su Zimo had personally killed 2 pinnacle kings. However, this did not mean that he could fight against a pinnacle king head-on. The difference between the two was too great. An entire realm. Back then, the main reason why he could succeed was because immortal King Yulan was restraining him. Now, the hairy hand had descended and sealed all the space between Su Zimo and the Earth Rock King. The spatial tunnel that he had just opened was crushed by the hairy hand, and he could not escape. Su Zimo activated his essence spirit and released another Grotto Heaven Phantom. Behind him, 2 Grotto Heaven Phantoms, the Yin-Yang Grotto Heaven and the Zenith Heaven Sword Tomb, appeared. Even so, they were still unable to resist the power of the hairy hand. The 2 Grotto Heaven Phantoms had just appeared when they collapsed. However, Su Zimo was still not done with his technique. 8 Fangs Divine Power, 4 Heads, 8 Arms, Immortal Slaying Sword, Dragon Elephant, 6 Paths of Reincarnation, Instant Youth, Space-Time Imprisonment, Vermilion Bird Skyfire, Limitless Yin and Yang. 9 Supreme Divine Abilities instantly burst forth. The person who attacked just now was the Red Sea Monkey King who was chasing after Su Zimo. The Red Sea Monkey King sensed Su Zimo's counterattack, and a hint of shock appeared in his eyes, followed by mockery and contempt. A single true spirit comprehended 9 unmatched divine abilities, and could even release them at the same time. This was simply unprecedented, and it truly left him shocked. However, no matter how strong the supreme divine abilities were, they could not threaten him. Even when the 9 supreme divine abilities were stacked together, it was of no use. He didn't even need to use his Scarlet Sea Cave to crush this ant to death. In his opinion, Su Zimo's counterattack was nothing more than the desperate struggle of a trapped beast, a mantis trying to stop a chariot. As expected, the Red Sea Monkey King only felt a slight resistance and pain when the 9 supreme abilities combined with the 2 Grotto Heaven Phantoms clashed against his giant palm. He channeled his chi and blood slightly, and the discomfort disappeared without a trace. The giant palm continued to press down. Suddenly, the Red Sea Monkey King seemed to have sensed something, and its expression changed. Its huge palm trembled, and it subconsciously withdrew. His lifespan was decreasing at an alarming rate. He was now 370,000 years old. He still had more than 600,000 years of lifespan left before reaching 1,000,000 years old. But in that instant, he had already lost 100,000 years of his lifespan. Just as he was retracting his hand in shock, he lost another 100,000 years of his lifespan. In the blink of an eye, 200,000 years of lifespan had disappeared without any signs of recovery. The Red Sea Monkey King couldn't care less about Xueqi below. With a furious roar, he instantly released his perfected grotto heaven, and a sea of blood appeared behind him. With the arrival of the perfected grotto heaven, the loss of lifespan finally stopped, and the crisis was resolved. But even so, he had lost a total of 200,000 years of lifespan. Furthermore, the Red Sea Monkey King was completely baffled and didn't know how he had fallen for it. Xueqi, who was below, lamented internally when he saw that. In fact, he also knew that even if the 9 supreme divine abilities were stacked together, they would not be able to injure a pinnacle king. The reason why he released all of them was because he wanted to hide the fleeting youth within so that no one would notice. Only this supreme divine ability could pose a threat to a pinnacle king. The Red Sea Monkey King was indeed hit, but he reacted extremely quickly. He held up his perfected grotto heaven and used an even stronger Dao technique to erase the fleeting youth, escaping from the crisis. Most of the time, Xueqi would choose opponents who didn't have much lifespan left to release the fleeting youth. Only then would he have a higher chance of killing them in one strike. For a pinnacle king like the Red Sea Monkey King, even if he lost 200,000 years of his lifespan, he would still be in peak condition and his battle prowess would not decrease. "Let's go!" Xueqi shouted softly, and 2 divine stones appeared in his eyes. He released the Tai Yin Yang escape art and prepared to escape. In such a battle, the surrounding space would be distorted and shattered. Even a grotto heaven king would find it difficult to build a spatial tunnel and leave at will. However, the Tai Yin Yang escape art was not restricted. "Humph. You want to leave?" Just as the Tai Yin Yang escape art was released, 2 reprimands came from both sides. The next moment, a pitch-black staff descended from the sky, emitting an ear-piercing sound. It was powerful and heavy as it smashed toward the top of the monkey's head. The corners of Xueqi's eyes twitched violently. The power of this staff had clearly reached the level of a pinnacle king. The second pinnacle king had arrived. He was already unable to resist a single peak king, let alone 2 peak kings. Moreover, there were at least 10 kings eyeing this star covetously. Before he could react, he suddenly felt his heart palpitate. A large spear pierced out from the side, piercing through the air, heading straight for his chest. Before the spear arrived, he could already smell a strong aura of death. The third pinnacle king. The 2 pinnacle kings targeted Xueqi and the monkey respectively. Their attacks were sharp and filled with killing intent. If they could not withstand this attack, both of them would die on the spot, let alone escape. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them were on the verge of death. The monkey had yet to recover from its injuries and was completely helpless against the attacks of the pinnacle kings. Even so, it still released its bloodline and its eyes were filled with battle intent. Against the pinnacle kings, the monkey was still fearless and roared loudly. However, the difference in strength between the 2 parties was too great. Before the staff of the pinnacle king descended, the wind created by the staff alone was enough to shatter the 1,000-ton staff in the monkey's hands. An 8th tribulation numinous treasure was completely useless against a grotto heaven numinous treasure. Swoosh! Right then, a tsunami surged within Xueqi's body as he channeled his bloodline to its limits. A gigantic jade-green Qinglian burst forth from behind him and soared into the skies in an insufferably domineering manner. The 12 circles of lotus leaves bloomed continuously and the Qinglian swayed, causing the cosmos to tremble. Xueqi's bloodline phenomenon, the grade 12 creation Qinglian. The descent of this bloodline phenomenon instantly drew a few exclamations of bewilderment. The gigantic lotus leaves shielded the monkey's head and protected him beneath them. At the same time, Xueqi channeled his essence spirit and released his secret skill once more. His left eye was pitch black and his right eye was pure white, releasing 2 beams of light, one black and one white, that landed on the primordial unity horsetail whisk in his hands. Xueqi wrote 12 mysterious runes in the void rapidly. 6 ding 6 jia shu. Deities and ghosts shall disperse. Xueqi hollered. The 12 runes transformed into 12 heavenly gods with terrifying auras around him. There were 6 men and 6 women. It was the primordial unity secret skill, 6 ding 6 jia gods. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.